and welcome to another episode of Podcast 572. As always, I'm your host, Kyle. I'm joined by my two friends, Dan and Matt. Matt is back from being out on assignment last episode.
Yeah.
As always, we're going to talk about what we've been playing. We got quite a bit to talk about there. We got a lot of news, a metric ton of news, one really big story. And then, of course, as always, we have all of your emails to go through, which we got quite a few. We got a good mix this week. I felt a good mix.
I was like the mix. Yeah.
I like the mix for sure. So I'll start as always. I'm just gonna go down what I've put in here. So I played the Hot FMV Game of the Year. Let me back it up. Hot Adult FMV Game of the Year, Immortality, which contains a lot more nudity than I would have expected out of a game that's on Game Pass. So, and keep in mind, this is an FMV game, so it's real actors.
Weird. Seems like just yesterday, people were complaining about the guy game having nudity in
it. Well, and so this game deals with heavy subjects. It almost seems like it's a direct response to the whole Harvey Weinstein thing from a couple years ago.
Okay.
Because you're playing as an actress who is kind of looped into, very seedily looped into a couple roles. But so it comes with a heavy price and a heavy subject matter. But also it's also very much it's kind of fucked up and like Twin Peaks in a way where as you start to put the piece, because I knew nothing. I went into this game blind. I didn't look up reviews. I just saw the scores and people were giving it 9s and 10s. I'm like, I guess I should check it out. But I knew nothing. So it's one of those almost like The Witness, if you remember, where it's like, okay, you discover the thing, and it's like, okay, as you keep playing, you discover more and more of the secret of that game. So this one, it's like all of a sudden you're putting pieces together of 3 different movies and then behind the scenes footage of this actress, right? And then you have to put the pieces together in order to kind of tell the story. But as you go on, you start to see things that don't make sense or are not right. So for example, one of the things is if you start rewinding things, shit starts to happen.
Oh, interesting.
So there's overlays. And then it almost there's one that gets Inception where it's a rewind on top of a rewind on top of a rewind.
Okay.
So that's pretty fucked up. But then there are other scenes as you start putting the pieces of the puzzle together where the main actress will just as you're watching the scene, they'll just change her out for somebody else. And stuff. It gets really fucking weird.
Jarring.
Yeah. So
it's cool though.
And it's kind of telling it's basically telling the story of this chick's life, getting into Hollywood, how Hollywood's obviously in the 60s and early 70s. Not a great place, obviously. You see how this young girl was manipulated. I think obviously the actress in the game is going to be over 18, but I think when she starts in story, she's 17.
Okay.
So that's important to note, but and then they flash forward to her last role, which is in the 90s, but none of her movies have ever been released. And that's part of the problem. That's part of her reservations. So it took me 10 hours to go through it. I didn't do everything. It was one of those where all of a sudden I kind of filled all the pieces out. They do kind of a crazy thing at the end. I'm not going to spoil that part of it, but they do a crazy thing at the end that's really cool. And then it kind of tells you what happened in a way, but it's a very interesting puzzle game. It's not at all what I expected it to be, at all.
That's
but
cool.
I also
that sounds interesting.
Anything.
Yeah.
So and it's on Game Pass, but I will just warn, it is super adult. I did not know that. So and there's quite a bit of that content in the game, way more than I would have expected. So, and then to go next to it, I have a trio of games that are similar here. So, I have As Dusk Falls. I actually went back to it today. I was installing, so I got my copy of Diofield. I think, Dan, you're getting yours shortly here.
Yeah.
I've not played it. You haven't played it, so I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about that game next episode.
Yeah.
But I was installing my copy and looking at just shit on my drive, and I'm like, I need to just get this As Dusk Falls game done so I can delete it. So I played a lot more of that today. It's really fucking good. A really good story. The way that it branches out, it can get kind of crazy, the different decisions you make. It's a lot more expansive than I would have thought for that type of game. My only complaint now that I played a lot more of it is the art style can get jarring because like the way characters move, it just almost looks like your Xbox is having a problem.
Okay.
Like if you're watching the image, you just have to get used to that.
Yeah.
It's how the game, because there's some scenes where like it's not a static image, like it'll actually pan the camera around something, but then it'll go back to static images where it's like showing the character move like it's a comic book. So it's weird. And it gets like tremendous voice acting. But like the thing that's captured me, at least that story, the way it plays out, like you kind of have to have sympathy for all the characters involved as the story unfolds. Like now I'm learning about the people that are holding this family hostage in this hotel, and you kind of learn their backstory, which is also pretty fucked up. So
right, yeah.
And this game also deals with heavy subject matter, so that is to be warned. They actually come up the chapter I'm on now. They do a thing where they give you a warning, like, "Hey, this super fucked up thing's gonna happen. You can skip it, or you can watch it," which is nice because if there's people out there that like cannot handle that, there's an option for you to skip it.
Yeah, definitely. That's awesome.
That's like something that's pretty cool. You don't see that a lot in games. So
no, it's a good compromise for things where it's like this is the story we want to tell, but we understand that not everybody's going to like certain parts. So
my only other gripe with the game is like I've played a lot of these, you know, FMV or slash like movie type games where it's like quick time events.
Yeah.
They're not done great in this game. Like that's my one complaint. They're either too easy or they don't tell you, like one of the things I like to do a lot is swipe the thumbstick, but they don't tell you if it's the right or left one.
Oh, that's weird.
And so I have to hit the right one and then the left one really quick and like pray that I hit the right one. So that's happened to me a couple times. Like there's like one scene where this dude goes to throw me the keys and I just fucking bombed it, and you watch the keys fall on the ground and then he just looks at me like, "Fuck's wrong with you?"
That's good.
So that's pretty good. And then I also have, and I put it on here, I played 2 hours of it. I took Saints Row, which we're going to talk about in the news, and I traded in something I haven't done. I don't trade games in very often anymore like I used to.
Right.
But Saints Row, I'm never going to fucking play it again. So I got my 35 for it, and I bought the Quarry. So I paid $5 out of pocket for the Quarry.
Yeah.
So I'm playing the Quarry right now. It also is really good, but I will preface again out there for anybody listening, it is not worth $70.
Yeah.
Like it's totally it is a notch above in terms of like visual flair than the Dark Pictures anthology games for sure. But that's kind of it. Like it just plays like a Dark Pictures game.
Okay.
So it's just an extended one of those. But they have more name actors in it. Like this has David Arquette. This has Ted Raimi. They're like two cops. I take it back. David Arquette is the camp counselor, like head guy who may or may not be harboring a dark secret.
Oh, wow.
And then Ted Raimi is this like really weird sheriff.
Okay,
so,
sure.
And then I think that that girl from Modern Family, Ariel Winter, she's a character.
Oh, yeah, she's in it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So what I played of it's really good, but I'm early into it. So another game I talked about a couple weeks ago, and then I was like, I don't know if I'm going to play it because the demo didn't really kick it off for me. It came out on Game Pass. It got really good reviews, so I said I'd give it another try. And I actually think it's better because I think they improved some of my issues. Is Metal Hellsinger, which is that FPS where like you have to kill to the beat.
Thing.
Yeah. You still have to get used to that because it is kind of weird, but it's actually a pretty cool game. I like that the further the beat you go, like you'll like it starts with just like the drums, and then if you get to a certain point with your combo, you'll start hearing the guitars, you'll start hearing the bass, and if you get all the way to the highest part, that's when the vocals come in for like whatever level. Like each level has a specific song from a metal band. So like the first level I think is Lamb of God.
Okay.
I forget what the second one. It's the one with the female vocalist. I can't think. But it's good. I have it installed on my PC because I want to try it there with keyboard and mouse, but I've enjoyed that as well. Then I have to mention it because it affected me in a way where I thought it was bullshit. So my girlfriend is playing a lot of Minecraft, like a disgusting amount of Minecraft. Like I am upset my amount of Minecraft, but she's been begging me to play for a while, like to jump into the server and see what she's doing. So last Sunday I sat down, I was like, fine, you know what? I'll go on the computer because I have jumped in on the Switch version of the game while she's playing on the Xbox, and that's fine. But I don't always want to play on the small screen. Like I'd rather have something bigger.
Sure.
So I said, well, I'll play on the PC. And so I loaded it up, not realizing that I guess in the last couple months, they have decided to also put the old version of Minecraft on Game Pass. It's like the Java one.
Yeah. The original.
And then they have the Xbox one. So they created a launcher. The launcher, like for whatever reason, I was like, all right, whatever. I installed the launcher, fucked up Game Pass on my computer, and it took me about an hour, and I had to run PowerShell code to fix this. Damn. Just to get this to work. So I don't know what's going on with the launcher. I don't know. Like, I understand why they did it because they want to have multiple versions of the game there. You can even launch Minecraft Dungeons, and they have a little placeholder for the RTS one that's coming out.
The new one, yeah.
So it's going to be like a little mini hub inside of Game Pass for Minecraft, and that's fine. But I don't know what fucked that up for like a good hour for me.
That's weird.
It's really dumb. Once I fixed it, like it's fine. I'm playing the game. It's whatever. But I just wanted to point that out for anybody that maybe hasn't played Minecraft on PC for a while. Be mindful of that launcher because it's weird. I got a chance. I don't know if you did, Dan. I got a chance to play the Star Ocean demo.
Yeah, I didn't bother just because I knew that I'd get it anyway. It's another one of those things. Like Geofield was like a new thing where it's like I want to see what that's like, but I know what Star Ocean is, so it's like
I know too. But I was like, I want to see because the reason I want to check is like there was one news outlet that put up an article, and I just read the headline that said we're concerned about Star Ocean. Last Divine. I was like, all right, maybe I'll try this demo or something. I like it a lot. So you have to get past. It has terrible lip syncing issues with the English voice acting. So
English voice acting has never been a strong point in that series.
maybe just play the Japanese voice acting and read the subtitles. But the combat's really good. It runs really great on the Series X. That's where I played the demo. So I did not play because it seems like it's the same as the Geofield demo where it's like several hours. I played up to like the first dungeon and I was like, I don't really need to play more of this because I'm going to have it in a month. So
right.
But for me, it made that game go from like, I was just buying it because it's Star Ocean and it's going to disappear like most Star Ocean games.
They tend to
just disappear and they don't make a lot of copies. Yeah. But now I actually probably am going to play it right away. So like, I liked it that much from that demo. So, and then finally for me, whatever night this past week, I've gone to like trying to play matches of Halo Online, MCC, I should preface. Mm-hmm. So I played some Splitgate, and I don't know. I was just in a like multiplayer shooter mode for some reason. So I decided to try the Modern Warfare 2 2022 version beta.
Yeah,
we'll call it that. And I enjoyed that as well. Like it's good. But all I'll say is it's Call of Duty. Like you know what you're getting. It works. Right. It visually looks really great. I played it on the PS5.
Okay.
But I'm not used to because I typically play shooters on the Xbox. I'm not used to the impulse triggers for shooters.
They feel weird.
It feels really weird. Like pulling a shotgun is real weird.
Mm-hmm. It's cool.
It really locks it. It's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
but it is a difference for sure.
It's really different. I kind of forgot that the DualSense has that. So
yeah.
But I liked it. So, and the time is right for me. I haven't played a Call of Duty since the last Modern Warfare. So. We'll see. Maybe maybe I'll go back to the annual, what do you want for Christmas?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what I remember you used to do that, yeah.
I used to do that every year. I'm like, I don't want to pay for it, but I want to play it. So we'll see. So and then I will preface the last thing I'll say, and I'll hand it over to you, Dan, because I know you played a lot more of it, but I did try, we'll say the Dan PlayStation Plus premium game of the week.
Yeah.
Which is the Warriors All-Stars.
Yeah,
I did try it just because of what you were telling me about it. It's cool. I will probably go back to it at some point, but I just wanted to see it for myself because I'm like, wait, what characters are in this?
Yeah,
like,
it's a little weird.
So I will turn it to you, and you
I was
can talk
digging
about
through
it.
Plus, and I always look at whatever's on there every so often, and I like Muso games, and I played Strikers Persona not too long ago, which is kind of a Muso game, but kind of not because like it has individual like battles where like things will spawn. Whereas, but they had this Warriors All-Stars game, and I was like, all right, let's see what it's like. Because if you look at the artwork for it, it's got like characters from various Tecmo games, basically.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait a minute, that's Kasumi from Dead or Alive. And, I didn't really remember this game at all. So it must have been one of those things where maybe we got like a copy and it just sat there forever.
Because I think it said 2017 is when it came out.
Oh, so it would have been after anyway. So I wouldn't have even noticed it. But so I was like, all right, let's give it a shot. And I downloaded it. And, it's insane because you can play as Dead or Alive characters, or it's got
you can play as the princess. You can play as the Nightmare Princess from Deception 4, which is an incredible deep cut that I appreciated.
Yeah, it's weird. So, like they just pulled in everybody they can, or most of the main characters they can think of, like Ryu, but it's also got some Dynasty Warriors characters in it, like Lu Bu is in there, and I'm like, okay. And then so I decided to play through, like, to do a playthrough as Kasumi. And like, if you play as Kasumi, you get 2 other DOA characters as like your partners that run around with you and do stuff. So it's bizarre. And then it's got this like weird, like card system where you earn cards and those give you abilities. And like your friends can have cards, and then they can, if you fight with them a lot, they become better friends, and then they give you gifts. And like, so there's a lot of like behind the scenes, like leveling up and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
I guess they did this like card system and like this other stuff because in the other Dynasty Warrior games, you would get like new weapons, or you could upgrade like your horse and stuff like that. Obviously those things don't really play in here, but when it comes down to like the actual like battle, it's just Dynasty Warriors, just with like an absurd story about this race of like cat people who are all fighting for the throne because one of them died. And depending on who you
sounds
pick,
like an Omega Force game.
Yeah, but pretty much like depending on who you pick, you're automatically sided like with one of the 3 people.
Yeah.
And then you kind of play through a story. I was looking it up just to see like how complex it gets. And like, if you want every ending, you've got to play through like 12 different paths of this thing. So probably not going to happen, but that's fine. Combat's exactly what you expect. Like, go here, take over this base. They'll give you other like objectives during a fight. Like, go here, stop this guy. All the pretty standard stuff. What's interesting about it is it actually has like an overworld like map. So like it's a map you look down on, and then it'll give you like activities to go do. So it's like take back this garrison or fight these things, and like so one of them will earn you cards, one of them will earn you gold, one of them will earn you. That's how you like recruit other people, because you can get more followers. So you go do like a mission for them. It's fun. It's one of those things where like it's exactly what you think it is. It's Dynasty Warriors, so like you could play for an hour and run through like 1 or 2 missions and then come back to it later. Yeah. The story is meaningless, but the gameplay is fun. It has some cool twists on the gameplay stuff where like you have a mode called like rush mode where you can activate it and it automatically kind of like fills the area around you with guys. And just lets you like kill as many as possible, and as you do it, like your partners pop up on the screen on like an overlay, and they like cheer you on. And if you kill a certain amount, you get extra time in this mode, and then when it's over, they do like one final attack, and then typically by that point you've killed like 1,000 people in 30 seconds, and you'll get items and stuff off of that. Like everything will drop items, and you can do that like once per battle, unless but if you kill another 1,000 people, you get another one. So you could get more. It's fun to play. It's nothing spectacular, but as I tried to, like I said before, I tried to play like the older Dynasty Warriors games, but you had to stream them.
Yeah, because they're PS3.
And like streaming a Dynasty Warriors game, not happening. But this is a PS4 game, so you're just able to download it. So I'll probably play through the storyline with the characters I care about, and then just kind of finish it because I don't really need to play through that game like 12 times, but that's fine.
For sure.
The other main game I played was now that Wonderlands is over. The people I played that with, we were looking for something else new, and we had all bought Back 4 Blood back when Best Buy had it for like $10 or whatever it was, and so we finally started playing that. Hadn't played any of it yet. It's just Left 4 Dead on steroids. Like it is what Left 4 Dead 3 would be.
Yeah,
if they were to make it now. But it adds a lot of other good stuff to it. Like there's significantly more levels. Like each act is like 10 to 12 levels.
That game also has like a crazy card system too.
Yeah, it's not as weird as it sounds. Like you get cards and like you build a deck, but it's basically just like this will give you 10% more ammo, or this will do this, or this will do this. And then as you play, you get better cards so that it makes it easier. Because even on like normal difficulty, like that first run through it's nuts towards the end of it. The final fight of like the first act, you're like in this like quarry thing, and it's just the game just throws everything it has. Even on normal it's everything, and you have to do this certain action like 5 times, like fire this gun 5 times. But every time you fire it, it adds what's called a corruption card, which is like the bad card. So anytime you have a corruption card active, something bad is going to happen to you. And those are random, like what they are. But
have you done the boat mission?
The ferry. The ferry was terrible.
Like where you have to exit that thing before it blows up.
Off of it. Only one of us couldn't make it off because it's awful.
I know the feeling.
He just kept getting downed, and we're like, we cannot come back. If we come back, we're dead. So we left him. But the quarry thing, like every round you fire this gun, corruption card, and something else happens. Corruption card, something else. And then at one point it's like ogre, which is like the giant thing. It's got all of the classic like Left 4 Dead like rip-off monsters, but they're just kind of tweaked.
Just a little,
just a little bit, but enough to the point where these are more annoying. Like there's one that just shoots like spikes at you over and over and over again. That was terrible. And then we did the other thing we did do is the expansion pass DLC was on sale.
Okay.
And it gives you there's 2 out now, and then there's 1 more coming. But these add this new thing called I forget exactly what they're called, but they're like layers. You can find like a hidden door, like a secret door. That's like, do you want to go in this layer instead? You're like, yeah, sure. You go in there, and you're just like, you're literally in like a place where these things come from.
Yeah.
And it is awful because it's a maze. Like they're just everywhere. Like, but it's still like fun. The characters actually have more of a purpose to them. Like I'm playing as like the doctor, so I could heal everybody like once per thing. One person can drop ammo, which is incredibly helpful because you run out in this game for sure. So everybody kind of has a purpose. The one character lets everybody else carry like an extra inventory slot, like a pipe bomb or something.
Oh, okay.
Which are very useful at certain points.
For sure.
And it's got all different mission types where it's like, get from point A to point B, or, defend this thing until you can get out. There's like save people from these like pods and stuff they get stuck in, and then they help you until you get out. It's really good. Like I'm surprised I like it as much as I do, because I thought it was just gonna be like, oh, we're playing Left 4 Dead again, but it's actually a lot better.
It has more to it, for sure.
It just feels like more of a game, and like it actually has like a story. Left 4 Dead kind of does, but it's not that big of a deal. There's a lot of characters. Like the DLC stuff there's more stuff to do after there's Act 5. Then they've got 1 more coming. There's more cosmetics and stuff. The only thing they don't make super clear is like, as you play through the story, like you'll find better rarity weapons, like green or blue or purple or whatever, they'll have better stats.
Right. Sure.
They don't make it clear that you don't really keep them. Like you keep them if you play the campaign, but they show this like, oh, there's an armory and stuff, but it's really just cosmetics. Like all of the other unlock stuff is all just cosmetics. And the whole like crux of the game is playing through a level to earn points to put into these like supply line chains to unlock cards so you can play more. It's good. It's really good. Like it's surprisingly good, and it just means that there's not going to be a Left 4 Dead 3 because this is it.
No,
and this sure. It's the same people, so of course that's what it is. The only other things I really played were I played more Phantasy Star. I'm just grinding that out. Like there's nothing super new about that. Just playing different jobs.
The same game on PlayStation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. It's still good. I don't have problems with it. And then I did Scott Pilgrim just went for free on the Plus thing now too.
Oh, okay.
Is it on the premium tier?
Yeah, it's on the premium one.
Okay.
It's been on my wish list forever to buy it again. I should say.
Yeah.
But then it came up and it said one of the things on your wish list is just available. I said, okay, I downloaded it. If you've never played it, it's a remaster of that game. Yeah, it's just a remaster of that game, and it's a good beat 'em up. But the only issue I have with it is like characters move too slow. Mm-hmm. Like it doesn't feel, especially after all the Turtles things just came out and Shredder's Revenge in specific. Like Shredder's Revenge is how those games should play. Yeah, this game was clearly made a decade ago, and it's
Yeah,
been
it came out like
updated
2009,
now.
I want to say.
It came out a long time ago. So it's kind of like a victim of the time it came out, because there are better versions
sure.
of those games out, like River City Girls and stuff too. But it's still fun. And now that it's on premium, I'm hoping that online and stuff should be easier to find people, because it's quote
Probably.
unquote free now. I haven't tried that yet. I just played through the first level, but
Okay.
I like
I
beat
would
'em ups.
imagine.
Yeah, I like beat 'em ups. It's fun, and I finished Shredder's Revenge, so here's
Might as
another one
well.
to play.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much it for me.
All right. How about you, Matt? What have you been playing?
So I started to work on The Evil Within 2. It's
Okay.
on Game Pass. I played maybe, I want to say like an hour and a half, 2 hours of the first one, and it just
Sure.
didn't grab me. So I was like,
this is a much better game than the first
yeah,
one.
it seems like a much better one. Like the story is kind of, I'm not far into it, but I like what's developed so far of the story that's in.
It has more of a story that pulls you in, whereas the first one just kind of seemed more like random events were happening.
Yeah, that's how it
This
really
one is more
felt.
like, no, there's a reason why you're doing what you're doing in
Exactly.
this one. So
Yeah, so I was actually excited. So I'm excited to dive into it, and I think I'm kind of feeling like spooky season, because now I'm trying
Yep.
to
No,
play
we're
like
here. We're
spooky
there.
games. Like we're here, we're in it,
we're
we're in
there.
it.
We made it.
Hocus Pocus comes out next week. We're there. All
Yeah,
right.
we're there.
Um, and of course, I played a little more Dead Space 2, and if you
Okay.
haven't played Dead Space 2, I mean,
It's great.
it's
Yeah.
fantastic. So I got nothing to say about that. I will say though, while I was out on assignment, I did finish Little Nightmares 2.
Okay.
And
And you
I
can
know
talk to that now because we had that email. Yeah.
I know we
Okay.
had an email last week in regards to that. So I will say that I played through Little Nightmares 1 and Little Nightmares 2. I bought both like
It's
collector's
probably like a
edition
double pack. Okay.
digitally. Yeah, I
Yeah.
bought them digitally. I'd like to get the collector's boxes, like the physical copies of them, because I'm just that kind of person. But the first Little Nightmares was fantastic to me. Like I love the
It is a
monsters, I
really good
love the
game.
puzzles. Like it's not a long game. What I think it's maybe like 3-4 hours,
Yeah, it's
maybe.
pretty short for what it is, but it's very well made for that
Yeah,
length, and it's not a full price game either. Neither
and
of
it's
them
not.
are.
And Little Nightmares 2 is about the same. It's about the same amount of time. I will say the
Okay.
puzzles in Little Nightmares 2 became a little more difficult than the first one,
Okay.
but they weren't like
Oh no, I
the
can't do
last
it. Yeah.
15 minutes of Little Nightmares 2 was probably the most angering I've been for a while, just because the puzzles
Okay.
at the end were just like, how the hell do you
Yeah.
do it? And I'm not going to say anything, but if you get an opportunity to catch that game, definitely buy it. It's fantastic. Like the monsters are fantastic. The story is fantastic. It's overall a really well made game for the price range, and especially the way that the price, like it's on sale. I feel like all the fucking time. Like that's the reason I
It
caught the
is pretty
first one.
frequently because that's how I caught it. Like I have not played the second one. I am going to because it's
So
spooky
good.
season.
So
So
good. Um, but yeah, I
I'm
mean, I
waiting.
paid like $6, I think, for the first one and the
Okay.
collector's edition when it came out digital. Like it came out at one of the sales, and I was like, yeah, I'll just go ahead and grab this.
Hmm.
And the second one dropped, and I waited for that to drop on sale, and I still grabbed it. Like I would still pay. I think right now they're like at like what, $20? I
I
think
want
for.
to say I think the first one probably retails around 20. I think the second one's a little higher, maybe 30,
I
but
think so, but I
no higher
mean,
than
yeah, they're both really well done and
that. Hmm.
fantastic, especially for spooky season. The
Hmm.
monsters are fantastically done.
Yeah,
It's a great game. It's a great two games, if I can say. So thank you for that recommendation. I've already played them. They're fantastic. And if you're listening now, grab them at spooky season. You'll have a lot of fun.
for sure.
Um, I also did start Disney Dreamlight.
Okay,
Yeah,
it's on Game Pass.
that like sim game
Yeah,
thing.
I'm
Yeah.
not like far into it. I'm like 45 minutes into it,
All
but
right.
it's it's not bad. Like I haven't played a lot of Animal Crossing either, so I
Okay.
can't really speak to Animal Crossing on it. But like what I've read and like what I've like heard people say is that there are things about Disney that they like over Animal Crossing.
Okay.
versus
I can believe that.
yeah, like I think there's a lot of little things that Disney did in this game that Animal Crossing hasn't done, as far as like mining and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
people like this one better versus that one. I like it so far. I'm a sucker for Disney games, man. Like,
Okay.
Well, that's
I just
fine. I
really am.
mean,
Yeah,
my daughter wants to play it too, so
yeah.
right there with it.
It's
And
it's
it's
pretty
on
good.
everything, right? It's just it's
Yeah,
on
it
Game
is.
Pass, but you can get
Yeah,
it for anything like
It's also still
Switch,
technically
PS4,
not
PS5.
out. It's
Oh,
like
it's like a
yeah.
beta or something.
kind
Okay.
of. Yeah, it's weird because it doesn't look like one.
Yeah, I was gonna say it does not at all look like one, but it is. It's not like fully, I guess not fully released yet? Is that how
No,
should we
yeah.
put it?
On PlayStation, you can like buy the Founders Pack, and there's
Okay.
like
Yeah.
That
it's like
makes sense.
30, 50, or 80 or whatever it is,
Okay.
and you get different stuff.
Would you say this is what they're doing now that they don't do Infinity anymore?
I don't
I
know.
would
This
probably
doesn't
say
seem like
so.
it doesn't seem like
No,
an
but I mean,
Infinity
like,
game though. But like
there is no big Disney game that has all these
But I
characters.
also feel
like a
like they could
crossover thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
we're like
I
they
feel like
like
this is good for them because they can input a
Mhm.
lot of their characters in it without having to like,
yeah.
Well, the other
you know.
best part of it is this is one of those things where they can turn it into in 3 months. This movie is added in 3
Exactly, and
months.
that's
Yep,
what
This
I was
movie,
getting
exactly.
at. Like, okay, because
and
that's
they
what
don't have
Infinity
to
was.
right, and they don't have to make little
Yeah,
plastic toys. It's all
Exactly.
it's all digital driven content and stuff. And like Matt was saying,
Yeah.
like I think the part of it that is most appealing and that Animal Crossing is missing is like farming and like mining and stuff. I think that's what
Okay,
Animal Crossing doesn't have, but it could really use.
for sure.
But
Yeah.
who the hell knows if we ever get another Animal Crossing at this point? Because
Probably not on the Switch.
probably not.
Probably whatever the next Nintendo system is, because that game. That game, I think, propelled the Switch sales somehow like
Well,
even more ridiculous than they already were.
COVID
And
helped.
COVID also helped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like everybody just
Yeah.
was like, I'm gonna buy the Switch and I'm gonna buy Animal Crossing because then I can just do real life shit as my Animal Crossing character does real life
I can
shit.
pretend to be outside. Yeah.
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 Exactly.
But I mean, I'm gonna try to dive more into it this week. And see if I can kind of like get past like the intro part and kind of like get into the butt of the game.
Okay.
So we'll see what happens. But maybe I could talk more about it the next time we arrive.
For sure.
But that's
Is
it. That's all I worked
That's
on.
it. Wraps up. All right.
That wraps it up. Yep.
All right, well, why don't we dive into news? I'm just going to go down kind of in order from what we have here, because I kind of put this in order as stuff happened, anyways.
Yeah, we
So
kind
the
of do it
first
like
thing,
as things happen. We fill it up.
like throughout the 2 weeks, I put it in a document. So
Yeah,
the first one, which you actually have a copy of it, I don't have a
do
copy
now,
of it.
yeah.
I should. Babylon's Fall is over in February. So
I love it.
they're just shutting the servers down. The game's done. It's over. Massive failure, obviously.
Doesn't even make it a year.
Yeah.
As someone who played that demo, I'm surprised it's gonna make it.
I forgot.
Months.
Yeah, you played. I forgot you played the demo. I didn't.
It's not good. Like it's
far.
just awful, and it's it looks terrible. And even though like that's how they wanted it to look, it's bad.
For sure.
Everybody had hope for it because it is technically like a Platinum Games live service thing. It's just bad.
Oh, I forgot. It is done by Platinum Games,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah.
So with that announcement, it was like, okay, let me see if I can find a copy anywhere real quick. So I started that day. I looked on GameStop and like you couldn't get one used. Used it was like 18. I'm like, that seems fair, but new ones were still like 60. I'm like, well, that sucks. And I was talking to a friend of mine about it, and I'm like, we should probably try to score copies of this and see if we can platinum
Do it
by
before it's
February.
done.
See if we can do it. And by all accounts, you can do it. You just do need multiple people.
Makes sense.
So we were looking around. And he finally sends me a text. He's like, GameFly's got it for like $9 shipped. And I was like, oh, hell yeah. So I went on GameFly.
Okay.
I told him, I was like, get 2. He's like, it won't let me order 2. I'm like, all right, fine. So I went on there and I ordered my own. So yeah, for like $10 after tax, I have a quote unquote like complete PS5
That's the only
copy
edition
of
they'll
Babylon's
ever make.
Fall.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he and I are going to try to find some time to run through it, but I surprising no one, this game bombed, and it's just live service doesn't work for everything. And I think the key to take away from this is live service doesn't work when you have to pay for the game. That's
yeah.
because like you look at like Anthem bombed. But stuff like Genshin Impact is live service, and it's one of the most successful games of the past couple of years.
It is.
Because it's free.
Mm-hmm.
So I think going forward, companies really need to rethink what this means.
Well, the positive thing I would say too about Genshin Impact, at least from the little bit that I've played of that game, is like I don't really think you need to personally dump money into it.
I have not spent $1 on that game, and I have played probably over 100 hours of it because it's actually
there's
good.
A lot. Of stuff
and there's so much content in that game. This game is no content. Cost you $60, and it's already getting shut off. Like, damn.
That's crazy.
One of the fastest shutoffs ever. The only one I can really think of that was super quick was Marvel Heroes Omega on console. Only made it like 5 months because then the licensing thing went nuts, and
that game was great.
And it was supposed to last an extra month, and then they pulled the plug early.
Yeah,
man, that game was super fun. Bummer. It was just Marvel really Diablo. That's all it was,
and it was a good port too.
It's a good version of it. Yes.
Yeah. So that's a bummer.
Mm-hmm.
And didn't we determine like the main reason behind it probably was because they were making the Avengers
probably is what killed it.
So the licensing probably what killed it. Yeah. It's unfortunate.
Plus that company like burned through the money it had made off it. Like they went nuts. But Avengers is probably the reason why Marvel was like, you're done here.
Yeah. We had our big Nintendo Direct on the 13th of September.
Top tier Nintendo Direct.
Top tier. This is your big end of the year. It's time to talk about big things. The biggest being that they have a date now for Zelda and a title. It is called The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. It comes out May 12th of next year, so it already has a locked date. I would imagine it hits that date at this point.
I don't think it misses it. I think that's it. I also laughed
it's far enough out.
No one's going to call that Tears of the Kingdom, right?
They're just going to call it Breath of the Wild too.
Yeah, no one's calling it.
I still see articles almost every day. Yeah.
So
what's up with Breath of the Wild 2?
Yeah, sorry.
So, I'm super looking forward to it. Like that, I'm still will say that's my favorite Switch game of everything that's come out is the last one, Breath of the Wild. Been looking forward to this. The only bummer I have, we actually have an email about it. We'll talk about it later. Is I was really hoping maybe the delay was because they were making a new version of the Switch, because I know this game is going to be held back by
a little bit. Yeah,
a little bit for sure. Some of the footage, even in this trailer, like when they were showing him flying around, a little janky.
A little bit, but I mean, we've got 7 months to iron that
for
out,
sure.
So.
But cannot wait for that. They announced, I thought this was a good troll. Like in the middle of that, they brought out Miyamoto, and I for sure thought that he was going to come out and talk about Zelda, and then he just talked about like a free to play Pikmin, and then he announced Pikmin 4.
Well, that's funny because he talked about the free to play Pikmin. It's like, yeah, dude, that has existed for a while.
It has, yeah. But, it's not a new thing.
So I'm like, this is kind of weird, and like they're not going to talk about Zelda because this isn't over yet. But then for him to be like, oh yeah, you guys remember Pikmin 4? Here it is, super real, and it looks awesome. Like,
yeah, it'll be next year sometime.
Pikmin
there was
games
no
are
date.
great, so
fantastic.
I'm in.
Yeah. The other huge announcement at this Nintendo Direct, this was the first announcement they had.
Mm-hmm.
There's a new Fire Emblem main game. It's called Engage. Looks fucking awesome, and it's out in January.
My favorite thing is it stars what the kids are calling Pepsi Coon because of his hair. I love it
because of his hair. He's got the red blue hair.
My favorite thing. Colgate Coon is another good one.
Looks. It's just another mainline Fire Emblem.
But it's got your boy Marth in it and stuff, and there's collectors and all that kind of stuff. So it's new Fire Emblem.
So I'm pumped for that. I did play I don't think I finished the 3 houses, but I played a majority of it. I did not play the Omega Force game.
Heroes.
I've heard mixed things on that, but I was waiting for another mainline game.
I like the Hyrule Warriors games, but I think I like that more because of the subject matter.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
I kind of agree.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
It's a little hard, especially like you think about Zelda's already an action game, so it's not really a far jump. Whereas like Fire Emblem is a fucking strategy game,
complete different game.
So to take those characters and make them an action based,
but it's kind of like how Persona has Persona and Strikers. Like those are
that's
a turn based game and an action game, and it works.
They announced that they're remaking. Is it a remake or a remaster of the Kirby Return to Dreamland?
I think this is a
It's
like
the
an
Wii game,
update
right?
to it. So I think it's a remaster essentially.
It's cool though. It's out pretty soon too. It's out in February.
Mm-hmm.
That looks pretty cool too.
Kirby games
another
always
big one. As I play this game in every Switch Direct they do when it's not a first party Nintendo game, I play the game after of okay, is this going to be on another system? Because I don't want to play it there if I don't have to because it's going to run poorly probably. But Octopath Traveler 2 got announced, which is awesome. So weird thing about that one is it is on PS5, PS4, Switch, and PC, but not the Xbox.
Not yet.
But the first one is on Game Pass.
Yeah, not yet. It'll. It's one of those things where eventually it'll make it. But
if you've never played Octopath Traveler and you have Game Pass, please try it. It's
Octopath Traveler,
fantastic game.
Great game.
I played Switch. Go pick it up. Like
I bought it on the Switch the day it came out. It game's
like
awesome.
You and I both have the collectors for it too. Don't we?
That like book one.
Yeah,
I'm not getting a new one because it's like $180.
Yeah, no. I looked at that. I did the collectors for Fire Emblem, but I was like, no, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I did the Fire Emblem one just because I keep the tradition alive. But Octopath, I don't need statues with the people.
They showed another trailer for Bayonetta 3 that's out at the end of October. It still looks great. I mean, I'm glad it's finally coming out after like the 5-year wait.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's good that
I look forward to it.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like it's going to end and it's going to be kind of a trilogy closer type game. That's what I think. So
the next one, this was like my like super surprise of the show. I'm getting another Final Fantasy Theater Rhythm game, which is fucking awesome. And this time it's on everything.
It is, which is awesome.
Which is great, but it's also got like co-op. It has a much better mode where you can actually like watch the videos and stuff that they put together behind the music.
Yeah.
Like, the games on 3DS were great because they were just, they're just Elite Beat Agents and all that kind of like the rhythm type games, but Final Fantasy themed. The amount of content in these games in terms of songs is mind blowing,
and that's before the little pass they added.
Before the little pass they're gonna have, which will add near Octopath Traveler and Live Alive songs. Like, this is great. I'm so excited for this.
So, and that's out in February as well, which is cool. This one also leads into another news article because it's actually on 2 platforms. A little weird of a situation.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
We finally after beating around the bush on it for so long, GoldenEye is finally coming.
It's real.
The weird thing about it is it'll be out on the Switch if you have the expansion pack thing. So you have to pay for the online expansion pack, which isn't that like $50 a year? The regular online is $20.
It's $50 because you get the 64, the Genesis, and then like the Animal Crossing thing and the Mario Kart thing. Like, it is a deal.
Which
if those are
the Mario Kart thing separately. So, but yeah.
But if these are things you want to play, and like the 64 catalog, it looks like it's finally going to open up because not just GoldenEye, but you get Mario Party games.
Okay,
the Pokemon
I saw
Stadium
that.
games. The Pokemon Stadium stuff is weird though because it's like you can only play the base part of that game.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Exactly. I thought that was a weird announcement too, but to get into the GoldenEye thing a little bit more, so it will have online play, but only on the Switch. So at the same time, like literally the same exact time this is being announced on the Direct, Microsoft put out their tweet of like, "Hey, GoldenEye's coming to Game Pass,"
right?
Because obviously they own Rare and they're going to put that out on the Xbox. But it does not have online multiplayer.
Well, and here's the other thing
Xbox.
too. It's also not the remastered thing that leaked.
Leaked. It is not. It's just not the original
that
game.
It's just the like updated version of the original game with no online multiplayer. And then the Switch version is the 64 version with online multiplayer.
Yeah.
Like, these are 2 completely different games.
It's really weird.
Because the Switch one, I would have to assume, is still going to be N64 controls. So one
I
thumbstick
so because you have you have that controller out there for that, so.
Right? But the thing is like people seem excited, but is this what you wanted?
Yeah, like I don't know. And the other thing that's weird about it too is like if you own Rare Replay on the Xbox digitally,
you own this. Yeah,
it will be an update, so you do not have to pay for it. So even if you don't have Game Pass, but you have Rare Replay, they're going to give it to you in a patch,
right?
So.
And you should own Rare Replay because it's good.
They gave, there was a couple different like E3 shows years ago where they just were giving codes out. That's how I got a digital copy of it, even though I own a physical. So So
the other thing about this like whole GoldenEye stuff is, people seem confused as to like why one has this and one doesn't. There was a theory going around, and I think I agree with it, where Nintendo finally told Microsoft, "Yeah, you can do it if we can release it and we have online play and you don't."
Yeah.
But the other problem with is is it's not like it's matchmaking online. It's not like you're going to jump into a lobby and play with people. It's playing with friends. So, again, is this what you wanted?
Yeah, it's weird. It's really weird.
This isn't like a definitive edition of this game. This is just two versions of this game.
This is a game that also came out, never had online multiplayer, and didn't have like all of that stuff built around it like a normal online multiplayer game would have today. So it's not going to have lobbies like a traditional.
My thought would be the version of the game people actually want is
probably that remaster.
The remaster thing that you're not getting that would have had like public matchmaking. I think that's what people want. This is like a toned down version. It's cool if you want to play it. Like I own Rare Replay, so awesome. I get it. So maybe I'll play through the story once.
That's what I'll do.
Like, I know.
GoldenEye to
part of me is
glad
it exists.
Time and place game when it came out, but to me, it's not really fun to go back to today because of the controls.
Yeah, so. And I'm happy it's out. If anything, just because we can stop talking about it. Like it's just
absolutely.
And like realistically, if you want to play this game, Perfect Dark is on Rare Replay, and you should probably play that instead.
Exactly. That's a better one. Yeah. Absolutely. And you can play that online.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And have been able to for almost a decade on the Xbox. So the other big announcement, and this is on everything. This isn't just Switch. I know this will make Dan really excited. Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion got its release date of December 13th.
Yep. Sooner than I thought.
A lot of games come out in December, like this, Callisto Protocol. I think there was one other big one too. So weird. That never happened.
I'm happy this game comes out. Looks great. It's a great game.
It's a great time to put it out. It's a
never
great
played.
Time to put it out.
So
I'm excited. There's a reason I bought a PSP. So
it's a reason a lot of people did.
It's a hell of a game. I'm going to skim over some of this because it's just like updates for various Nintendo games. Like there's the new wave of Mario Kart 8 stuff. There's the free golf update for Switch Sports, which is perfect. Cool I have that game.
It needs it. Yeah.
Mario Strikers getting another free update with some new characters.
More characters.
Xenoblade Chronicles is getting a new DLC. Splatoon was having its first like Splatfest.
Mm-hmm.
That game sold like bonkers.
Well, you couldn't get it. You couldn't get it. Anywhere.
Yeah.
It's like one of the best selling games in Japan ever.
They announced, and I always have to ask, like, who actually is buying this? But like, they announced Resident Evil Village is going to have a cloud version. I just who's buying the cloud version? Like, you technically don't even own it.
Basically, it's like that. all those newer like Resident Evil games,
they're going to come in cloud versions. Yeah. How about I'll let you talk more about this one, Dan, because I know you're excited about it. But the Harvest Moon.
This is a funny one. I just love this one because it leads to the psychotic nature of what has happened to these licenses.
Yeah.
So Harvest Moon, A Wonderful Life, awesome GameCube game, like awesome GameCube Harvest Moon game. But as what happened, the rights from the game and the name got split at some point. Mm-hmm. So now it's being remade, which is awesome, but it has to be remade as a Story of Seasons game, but it can keep the subtitle. So it's so weird because for those people that don't know, Harvest Moon is like the original farming simulator, and that's the good one. Mm-hmm. But it's not the good one anymore. Don't buy it anymore. buy Story of Seasons now. Story of Seasons is a good one.
Yeah.
So it's cool that it's they're remaking that because that is a really, really good farming game. And as we know, it's just one of many farming games.
Yeah. Like as we go down here, then we had a second farming game called Fae Farm. Which
honestly looks like fun too.
Looks fun too. It's got some magic in it.
Yeah.
And then they also talked about Harvestella, which is out in November, and that's also a farming game in some respects.
Well, that's the Square one, but that's like a farming, like action, like RPG kind of thing.
There's a demo for it now, so
yeah, and you get to keep your data, which is cool. So
for sure, that's always
like
cool
farm overload, but. You know, that's what's selling right now. So,
it's for sure.
I don't care. It doesn't bother me.
Another one that I was excited about, Fatal Frame Mask of the Lunar Eclipse is coming west. This is on everything. It is not
finally
just
get
Switch.
It now. Yeah.
We're finally getting over here in the West. Very, very excited for that. That'll be in early 2023. I was crossing my fingers and putting the trailer that it would be like next month for spooky season, but gotta wait a little bit longer for it.
Well, hey, you've already waited 15 years, so
yeah. What's another 6 months or whatever, you know? And then another one of the big games of the year, which I actually have to sit down and play before the end of the year, is Tunic.
Yeah,
that is going to finally come to the Switch. Is it on PlayStation now, or it's coming soon? Okay,
it's either It either is or it's very
it's like next week or something. Yeah. So the little bit I played, it's awesome. It's just I need to sit down and actually get through it. So, there's some other stuff coming to Switch, like It Takes Two is coming to Switch. Sifu is coming to Switch. There's two other big ones like big-ish, I guess. I'll talk about. One is funny and you'll laugh about it too, but Front Mission First Remake and Front Mission 2 Remake are going to be coming, I think, next year. And then they also announced that they are going to be making a remake of Front Mission 3, which is crazy. That they're remaking all three of them, but I'm into that.
Yeah.
The other game, and this is the crazy one. This is a game, for whatever reason, of all the games besides like Zelda and Fire Emblem, grabbed me for some reason. The series has never grabbed me. I've never
you've never talked about this
I've never paid attention to it. I've always looked at this and been like, what is this weird bullshit anime series? They keep pumping these games out all the time. I don't know what it is. I remember when we worked at the store, like we'd get these in all the time, and there'd always be like the one copy, and there'd always be the one person that would come in and be like, do you guys have this? And then you'd have to like put it in the plastic sleeve because it was the only copy we got.
Yeah.
So I'm going to butcher the name of it, but I think it's pronounced Atelier.
I think it's Atelier.
They said it weird. Okay. Atelier? Okay.
Something
but
like that.
Atelier Ryza 3 got announced. It looks fucking crazy and good. Like, I don't know. It grabbed me and I was like, I've never played one of those games. And that led me down the path of, I should see if I can play the first one of these, which it seems like this series, it is based on different characters. So there's a series that is, Atelier, and then it has Ryza is the character, or Sophie is the character, or something like that. But this trailer grabbed me and I was like, I'm going to try and play the first one. So that led me to go get a copy of that off Amazon for the PlayStation. And then I had to dig and dig and dig because I guess the second one is out of print right now for PlayStation.
Oh.
But what's weird about it is it's printed on the copy I got. It has a PS5 upgrade.
So, I saw it when you sent me the picture.
I sent you the picture, but I had bought that off of Walmart.com for $52 because I was like, fuck it, I need to have both of them. But this new one is out in February. It is on Switch and PS5, so that's pretty cool. I don't know, it grabbed me. It looks like a really good RPG, so reminded me kind of like East. That's what got me excited.
Okay.
The other big one, and you can talk.
Let me talk about this one because
Tales of Symphonia.
So there's some bullshit. There's good and bad news about this. So the good news is they're remastering it for like current consoles and stuff. And Tales of Symphonia is my favorite Tales game, like by far. I know a lot of people like the newer ones. Like I haven't even gotten around to the latest one, but I love Tales of Symphonia. It was like the one that got me into the series on like the GameCube. Such a great RPG.
Yeah.
Like you get like 40 hours into it, and then it's like, oh man, you're halfway done, and like the whole thing flips, and you're like, damn. Really good game, really good characters, all that kind of stuff. It's been redone once before because it was on PS3, and then they had that like kind of like weird sequel on the Wii.
Yeah.
But now they're remastering it again. But there is a problem with this game where the original GameCube version runs at 60 frames a second. The new remastered versions on everything, including PC, run at 30. I don't understand.
Yeah.
Not that FPS has ever really mattered that much to me. But when the game started at 60 and is now on hardware that is far more powerful,
I
don't understand where the concession is coming from.
Like even for this game on a Switch, there's no reason it couldn't run at 60.
No, and it's not like they're it's not like they're redoing the graphics or making it more complicated. They're just upping it to make it run better.
Exactly.
But it runs at half the speed.
Mm-hmm.
So it's bizarre. There's a collector's edition of it on Namco, and I have it ordered for the time being, and I'm gonna kind of sit on it to see if I keep it. But because I really do like the game, and I haven't played it in a very long time, so to play it again would be fun. But I don't know.
It's a weird situation. Last thing I'll mention, I mean, everything else they talked about was kind of whatever, just smaller things at the direct, but
other stuff that's already been on other things that's now being like on Switch and all that kind of stuff.
The only other one I'll mention, because I know it's a popular series, is Rune Factory 3 is getting new life in 2023. Like they're making a new version of that, or like a re-release of it or something. And then they also teased like a new Rune Factory is in development, but it was like a very quick like, hey, This is
right, and who knows? Who knows what that
what
actually
it's even
means?
called?
Yeah.
So that kind of wraps up the direct, though. Like again, incredibly solid direct. Like it's the one that you wanted for the year.
Yes.
By far.
Perfect.
So, great direct. Obviously we talked about GoldenEye. Then on this it was the same day, wasn't it?
No, it was like the next day. I thought.
I think it was the same day. I think it was in the evening. We had the. Yeah, it was.
Was it? Jesus.
It was in the evening. We had the Sony State of Play, so which had some good stuff too. Like,
yeah, a little bit. It was overall. It wasn't.
If you're a Yakuza fan, you were going to be happy.
That's not necessary because they really only announced the one game in here. The other ones all came from the RGG stream.
You're right,
which was
because
later.
they said like, "Hey, turn into our thing tomorrow. We'll say more." You're right.
So the banger is Tekken 8 revealed.
Yeah,
it looks incredible. I love Tekken.
I'm sure that's a 2023 game.
Yeah, that looks good. It's probably next year. God of War Ragnarok.
That's how they closed it.
Yeah,
it was the trailer that I wanted though, and that's what made me happy. That bummed me at first because they're like, "Here's this controller." I'm like, "Wow!" I personally thought the controller looked terrible.
Doesn't look great.
No, it doesn't look great. But then they actually gave me the trailer I wanted, and like, I'm good now. I'm like, I can wait till November to play that game. But good trailer for that.
And then they went into like VR stuff, which they're just gonna keep showing as much of that as they roll out because that's the next big push for them.
Well, I think the other big thing to talk about with Yakuza is that game is no longer going to be called Yakuza in North America.
Yeah, the whole series is now like
a dragon, which is fine
because they don't want to associate it with the Yakuza title anymore. Well, fine. I mean, that's what the name of their studio is. But this is cool because this spin-off game we never got gets a Western release, and it actually takes place before everything that's happened so far, which is great.
It's cool. It's a prequel. It'll be on everything.
Yeah. And then here's the typical you can't take COD away from us, but we're getting an exclusive quest for Hogwarts Legacy.
Yeah, exactly. I thought that was a good dig too. Where it's
come
like,
on, man.
And the quest looks fucking cool.
It does.
For me, I was
like, it looks
wow.
weird as hell.
It made me go, I'll probably play that on PlayStation.
But I saw people online saying, that quest is probably like 10 minutes long. I'm like, yeah, you're probably right.
Is.
Yeah.
The weirdest thing that they showed there was this Pacific Drive game because when it started, first it kind of looked like Silent Hill, and I was like, okay, maybe we're doing it. And then I thought, well, maybe this is that fucking abandoned game, but I think Sony has literally abandoned that game at this point.
That is dead.
So Pacific Drive, I don't know. Like, they didn't show enough for me to really have much of an opinion on it. I know they put more details in the press release, like after the conference. But it's like you're driving around
like a roguelike almost thing.
Kind of, yeah, but you're driving like a station wagon and like something terrible's happened to the world. I don't know. It didn't look terrible. It just looked kind of janky.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Sony announced they're gonna put out their loyalty program this month. They have more details out of there, but I think they're doing stuff like if you are in X amount of people to get a platinum for a game first.
That's an awful way to do that.
It's bad
because people hack it. Like, we'll look at hackers and stuff. You're not going to catch them.
No,
like there's people that hack. There are people that trophy hunt for a living. You really think that they're not going to be on this immediately? What about people that get like demo copies or product keys from the company that can have it done ahead of time? Like being the first person to platinum a game is an awful,
not the best
idea.
Yeah.
Like it is not good. It should be something where like platinum in this time frame. If you do it the first day or something, like there's got to be something else. But the first person to get it, you'll never get it. There's the answer.
You'll never.
It's going to be the same 8 people getting it over and over again.
The next 2 games they announced, I'm excited about. One of them is actually on everything, and that's that Sin Duality. It's like it's almost like a mech shooter, third person mech shooter. I always like those types of games. And then the other one, and I was excited about this when they showed this, I think at last year's State of Play or one of them, Project Eve, which now has a title. It's called Stellar Blade. It is a PS5 exclusive. It looks fucking amazing.
It looks good.
So I'm really into that. It's like a Bayonetta type slasher, one of those type of games. It looks awesome. So, and then the developers of Neo announced and this is a weird one to me. They announced an open world samurai game, Rise of the Ronin, which like that's cool, but like there's Ghost of Tsushima. Like you already have that franchise now.
Yeah, but this is Team Ninja.
You think it's a little different.
They're not making Dead or Alive anymore. So what else are we gonna do?
No, but hey, you're not gonna get no.
This confirms Dead or Alive is dead. Like it's just
it does for sure. So, I mean, like I said, it was an all right state of play. Okay. Yeah, it didn't have like the mind blowing announcement or anything.
Yeah, it wasn't incredible. It was fine.
Yeah. So. Let's see. Then obviously that led into the Yakuza news where they showed Like a Dragon 8. That's what it's called. Although the trailer's in all Japanese. I don't think they subtitled it either, at least the one I watched, so I couldn't tell you what they were saying.
But do you need to?
Hey, whatever. Wasn't there one other Yakuza thing? I want to say there was 3 things
you get Like a Dragon 8. Okay. You also get it's still going to be a turn-based RPG like 7. And then they talked about Inshin, which is the prequel one. And then there's the other one that takes place in between like 6 and 8.
That's right.
Because Kiryu's coming back in 8, and now he's like older and white hair. The coolest part about 8 is like it's both protagonists now.
Yeah.
Like, however they're going to
make that new guy, Ichi or whatever.
Yeah, like
good. Yeah.
This studio really like they know exactly what they're doing.
They do.
They know what people want, and they just fucking make it. And like as long as they can keep. Obviously, Like a Dragon is going to continue. They just need to sort out this Judgment crap with like the guy and his likeness and all this stuff, and keep that one going too. Because the plan was Like a Dragon is the turn-based side now, and Judgment is the action-based one. So you get the best of both worlds, and they both play differently. You know, I think the detective model of Judgment being the action one makes more sense, and the Like a Dragon being like the quirkier RPG, but like you can manage a baseball team series makes sense that way too.
Yeah, exactly.
So like you get the best of both worlds, and they can easily like this one comes out this year, this one comes out next year, this one comes out next year, and just keep bouncing it back and forth. So
and that's fine.
I hope they get that figured out. I think they will. I think at worst case scenario, recast the guy, make a new person. It's not that hard.
No, and I think people, especially given the circumstances, I think people would understand that.
Yeah, I'd rather the series continue. Yeah,
exactly. Then we obviously now know the answer to what Konami was going to announce, which is the Suikoden 1 and 2 remasters.
Awesome.
Which is awesome. It's on. It is on everything. I looked into it, so which is cool.
It's even better that it's both of them. Like you would think
it's 1 and 2.
They could have got away with just doing like 1, but
they're doing the same. And they're doing the same shit that the Final Fantasy like remakes or remasters of those old ones 7, 8, 9 did, where they have like the, you can accelerate the time, you can turn off random battles, which is awesome. That's how when you put out those like remasters of those, that's how they should be put out at this point, because there are parts of all of those games that are a slog to get.
Yeah, and I think them releasing this 1 and 2 stuff is probably a test to see if people care. Much like the Chrono Cross thing was for Square.
Yeah.
It's a test to see if people care. Because if enough people buy this, they may not make a new one, but they may remaster 3, which was a PS2 game. And you know what I mean? And update it and get people back in. So
for sure. In the endless battle between Microsoft and Sony right now, we are still going back and forth on the COD stuff. Microsoft, I should say, decided to fire another bullet at them and just put out there that they will not raise the price of the Xbox.
Yeah,
the important thing to note, if you read Phil Spencer's statement, though, is at this time.
Sure.
And that's the one thing I like to remind people is like, he's not saying they'll never do it. He's just saying at this time they will not do it.
I don't think they ever would.
I don't think they will, but I'm just pointing that out there for the person that emails in and goes, well, So.
But I don't think you ever
I don't think they will, because they don't have a reason to. And also right now, games. Like I just saw an article today that this was yet another week where the Series S has outsold the PS5 in Japan.
It's because they are available.
Yeah. And people, But even then, you think about like the PS3, PS4 generation, like when those were not available, people weren't buying Xbox One.
No, they weren't.
People weren't buying 360s in Japan. They didn't give a shit about that.
No, they didn't at all.
Maybe to play Lost Odyssey, but that's about it.
Yeah, that's true.
Like
maybe they're learning exactly how good Game Pass really is, and they're like, "Oh no!"
I think that's part of it. I think it's part of it.
I do think that's part of it. So, I'm not going to go through them all here just for sake of time, but then Microsoft had their little like fall Game Pass thing, the following day. They announced a slew of Game Pass games that are coming. I don't really think I need to go through all of them, but some of the bigger ones, the one that was a bigger one, at least that I thought, was one of those, like the most coming soon Guilty Gear game, which those are pretty big. That's coming to Game Pass.
Yeah. Well, and you've got
early next year.
Deathloop finally launches on Xbox and it's
Deathloop,
on Game
yeah,
Pass.
Deathloop is out now.
Reasons.
Yeah.
Valheim comes to PC in a week, which is big.
Which is cool for them. And then the console version will be next year.
Yep.
That's a pretty big one too. So I've heard a lot of things about that Norco game that's coming to everything. But there again,
good stuff.
A lot of just good stuff to check out. Oh, I should say the other one that's kind of cool is they put out Ni no Kuni remastered for the Xbox, and then the second one is going to come out later this fall.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. I realized the other day I own both of those physically for the PS4. I didn't realize I did that.
I think I did too.
Another bummer, and then we'll get to the big news, like bigger than anything we've talked about news, I feel.
Yeah.
But this was a bummer to me because I've been on the fence on the PSVR 2 because I never got a PSVR 1. But they confirmed that they are not going to let the PS4 PSVR games be backwards compatible with the new headset.
There's obviously a reason for this.
There's got to be a technical reason.
But my thought is there's probably a way where developers who make those original ones could probably.
There's got to be.
This is the PSVR 2 version. Like there's a way to do it. So it's a bummer if you already have a catalog because then realistically you'd have to have 2 VR headsets hooked up if you wanted to go back and forth.
Exactly.
But developers will find a way to port stuff over. I'm sure.
Well, my other reason and I've said before several times on the podcast, but one of my reasons for being more excited about this one is that this one has 1 wire. The PSVR 1 has like 4 wires.
I just had that stupid box. Yeah.
I have 3 cats. That's not going to work in my house. So 1 wire, I can maybe manage 4 of them with a box. No, that thing would be destroyed in a day.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's a little bit of a bummer. Let's talk about the biggest news, the biggest bombshell of the week. We got an email about it. So what I'll say here is that, as always, you can email us at podcast572, and we'll talk about it here. But we have David from South Haven, Michigan. He asks, "Hi guys, was curious your thoughts on the GTA 6 leaks. Has anything ever been as devastating of a game leak as this? Do you think this will impact development of the game and or delay it out further? While there is no current release date, you have to wonder if this will push back the game. Thanks." So to get into it, this happened last Sunday. GTA 6, a hacker leaked a shit ton of footage of this game.
A lot of
2019 footage of the game. So it's now out there. Like, we know the game takes place in Vice City. It basically confirmed every rumor we've heard for the last 2 years of what this game's going to be. Yeah,
right.
Exactly. And the other thing I'll say is, I mean, if you're out there, you're looking at this game and think, wow, it looks bad. This is early footage.
Yeah, I don't think any reasonable.
I haven't really seen a lot of people that complained about that.
I don't think any reasonable person thinks that this game looks bad. It's not out.
It's not out. There's a placeholder NPCs in that footage.
If you have any clue of what game development is like, this seems farther along than I thought it was.
For me, it confirms that they're going to actually do a single player. I didn't know if they were because of how successful GTA Online is. And now for me, that confirms there'll be a GTA Online 2 with this, but this actually has a single player campaign, which is what I'm interested in.
Right.
But yeah, the thing that was cool about it for me is you never get to see development footage like this. So to see this running and see the actual code running on the side, that was cool.
It's interesting.
You never get to see that.
It's cool to see. I mean, with what was leaked and what was already known, I don't necessarily think this is going to hurt actual development of the game. I think if anything, it's going to cause a brief pause because they've got to lock this shit down now. Because obviously, I don't think it's going to hurt people at work coding the game, putting the game together, but they have to. The security of this has to get ratcheted up significantly.
For sure.
And, just a quick side thing, too, is the funniest part. It wasn't just them because Diablo stuff got
hacked, too. Yeah.
So is that going to hurt that game? Probably not, because these games are far enough along where they're and nothing leaked that I would say is we don't know the entire plot. We didn't watch
not at all
the entire story get played out. Like, none of
you
it
know
mattered.
the characters' names, you know what they look like,
right?
And you know that it's set in Vice City.
And here's the thing:
three things you know.
you know what they look like, but that's subject to change. All of this could change.
Yeah,
all exactly. of it could. It's so far away that, like, yes, it's cool to see, but is that final scene going to be in the game? Who knows?
Yeah. It's for me. For me, I looked at it more positively because
I'm more interested,
excited about the game.
Yes,
now that I've seen something. Yeah,
I think
like I was like, whatever, another GTA, but this had me go. Yeah,
there is a way that
yes,
this is actually very positive news because look how many people are talking about it. Not that Grand Theft Auto needs to be hyped, but
the other thing too is like now it might take away some of that. Like, what about GTA 6? What about GTA 6? Like, now you've seen something about it. It might calm that down a little bit. The other thing too is like anybody that's even still on the fence after seeing this, when they put out their first trailer, people are gonna go fucking bananas over it.
Well, yeah. Well, now they don't even have to put one out for a while.
Oh,
you've already
absolutely.
seen it. Don't worry about it. But yeah, if they can spin this. And they didn't have to spin it. I think it's nothing but positive. It's people are talking about the game, like all it does is hype the game. You get to see kind of behind the curtain, which everybody wants to see. And I thought a cool thing that happened was other developers put out stuff because they were concerned that people were like, "Oh, this looks bad," and so like you could see old versions of what Control looked like, and other games of the graphics and all that stuff. And then they had them side by side with what they look like now, and they don't look the same. So people are just blowing this out of proportion. But yeah,
and then
go ahead.
It's cool. I was just gonna say another fun thing to go along with it is like IGN put out an article that was like, is it the biggest like leak of all time for games? And they kind of just mentioned some other ones that I had forgotten about, like the Half-Life 2 source
I remember
code.
The Half-Life 2 one. That was a big one. Deal.
That was a huge deal.
I think that was more detrimental than this will turn out to be.
There was the Nintendo Giga leak.
Well, the Half-Life 1, they stole
Half-Life 1
game.
I think was bigger because they stole source code.
They stole
it's clear they didn't get that here. So,
and it happened it happened with CD Projekt Red too. Like they got their stuff jacked with The Witcher.
Yeah.
Cyberpunk
for sure.
A lot of stuff gets leaked all the time.
For sure. It's a huge leak regardless though. Like,
yeah, it is, but it's not like you can play it. You can't play the game.
Exactly. The other thing, I can't remember if I talked about this in the podcast last time or not, but Microsoft is working on a new UI for the Xbox dashboard.
I think we talked about it a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. The feedback that they put out there, like, we would like feedback on this. What do you guys like? What do you guys dislike? It's been very negative.
Yeah.
So, but again, Microsoft is a company that will listen. So I feel like the people that are complaining, like, they're going to hear their voices are going to be heard. Because one of the biggest complaints was people want to be able to see their background. Yes. Which this kind of had icons spread out in a weird way.
Why can I set a background if I can't ever look at it?
Exactly.
What's the point?
So I feel like that'll change. So I just thought it was interesting because, again, like they actually listen to feedback. So for me, bigger story, potentially more interesting for Resident Evil as a franchise. I didn't know this. This was something that just came out as they were talking more about this DLC that's coming out. This upcoming Resident Evil DLC is going to completely end the Ethan Winters storyline.
Oh no.
So his character, his daughter, all of that is going to end, which means they're not a part of whatever the next Resident Evil is. So that has me excited for what is Resident Evil 9 now? Are they going to completely do something different? Is it, not going to be first person anymore? Like, I don't know. Let's see. We have, this was a weird one. The former head of PlayStation, Sean Layden, now joined Tencent, which I think is weird because this is a dude who doesn't have to work anymore.
Well,
like at all.
I think he's just there. He's just an advisor, so he's kind of like
he is.
He's pulling he's on the Reggie train now, where he just kind of pops up here and there, and then he leaves. And,
regardless, not the company you want to be.
No, nobody likes Tencent, man. Come on.
Since you put this one in, I'm gonna let you talk about the PS5 model.
Yeah, so there's a big rumor going around of there's a potential new PS5 model coming, which would have a detachable disk drive. This is insane. What are we doing?
I don't agree.
You already have a digital version of the console. So why do you have to make a new version that has a detachable drive?
Who needs to detach that? Like, what does that benefit someone?
What is the point of having a detachable disk drive? I don't
exactly.
Why would you ever have to take it off?
I sat on that when I saw you put that in here because I'm like, what's the need for someone to detach that? Like, what's the benefit?
Why would I ever have to unplug it?
Take it to your friend's house?
Yeah, and then slap it in his.
They have the same, but wouldn't they have to have the same model so they already had the detachable drive?
Yeah,
none of it.
None of it makes sense.
We can't even make them fast enough to sell you the current ones, but here's a new one with a weird feature you don't need.
Exactly, just weird.
It's just bizarre.
EA has kind of put out some feelers out there that if Call of Duty does go exclusive to Xbox, I still believe it's not going to happen. That there's an opportunity for them to do something with Battlefield for PlayStation. I find that
make
laughable.
A good Battlefield game first.
Yeah, I was gonna say I find it laughable because the last couple Battlefields have been disasters.
The only thing they can even like run properly now is Apex. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. No, I agree with you there. And even then, like I don't know, if you talk to some people, they break that game pretty frequently too.
Yeah,
a lot.
Yeah.
My favorite dumb fucking story of the week that I had to put in here because I thought it was hilarious was the embargo breaking YouTuber. I don't know if you saw.
Oh, we got busted. Yeah, we admitted to it.
And I had to read through. Well, here's what happened. He had two different Twitter accounts on his phone, and you know how you can switch back and forth between accounts. Mm-hmm. He posted something on the wrong account, and that's what led people to see what was going on, and then he had to admit it. So. But maybe don't do that.
Well, he signed like multiple NDAs for this stuff. And then he just
so it's not like he even
revealed that he broke all of these. Like
he literally just broke a shit ton of NDAs just to, and he said he did it. I think what was it? Quote for the clout.
Yeah, just to build a channel. That's all it was.
Yeah,
but now he's screwed. Like he's no one's gonna ever talk to him again. And if he signed NDAs, those are contracts, dude. You broke them. You're gonna get sued.
Yeah,
exactly. I've had to sign those before.
Yeah,
when they would show us random stuff.
You go to games. Yeah, the conferences.
Like a good example was GTA 5.
Yeah,
they showed us when that was in development. They were like, "We're gonna show you a 20-minute thing no one's ever seen."
Wasn't that the first time that they had shown the zooming in and out between characters?
Between changing characters.
Because that was not known.
No one had ever seen that before. They didn't know that
it got leaked from that.
Well, of course it did. But you couldn't you could jump between people. They're like, "We're going to show you something. We haven't shown anyone yet. You guys are the first people to see it. Turn your phones off, phones away." And there were people going around be like, "Phones off, phones away." I mean, of course it's going to get leaked because there are people that do not care. But I'm pretty sure at some point, maybe for that or if it was something else. But I've signed it before because there have been instances when the 360 was coming out. I was at Game Crazy at the time, and this was the September before it came out. One of the biggest things was, remember the King Kong game?
Yes,
pretty solid game.
Not a bad game.
To be fair, yeah, pretty solid. But they said we're going to show you a fight between Kong and something else, and then we're gonna show you this other part nobody's ever seen before, and it was another case of phones off, phones away. If we catch you, we're taking it, kind of a thing. So that's happened. This guy's screwed, which is it's funny to me because he screwed himself up. His career's dead.
Yeah, he did.
People will still watch him, but he won't get access to anything.
Exactly. So, one of the two final news stories here, one which, I said we would talk about it later, but as expected, Embracer Group doesn't expect a great return on the investment for the Saints Row reboot. And neither does Volition.
Yep.
I have seen the numbers. It has sold poorly, at least in the UK. I think the reported US numbers are not out yet, but they'll be soon. And the game had a disastrous launch. It was incredibly buggy. I think people that did buy it like me and were excited then got bummed when they saw the different bugs and glitches. Not to mention the story's not very good. So I'm not going to sit here and say is the franchise permanently dead because anything can be revived, but I don't think you see another Saints Row for another 5, 6, 7.
It's gone.
This was like a decade.
It's gone for a while. They'll put them on to other projects, and
for sure,
if and when it ever gets remade, it'll be done by completely new people.
Exactly. So, and then final news story, I just threw it in here because yet it's another shots fired comment, is that the actual CEO of Microsoft, I don't want to butcher his name. You know who he is. Not Phil Spencer, but the actual head has just said he's, confident that the Activision Blizzard merger is going to go through. And basically he just says, let us have a competition. So, They just keep going back and forth. Like this is like Genesis Super Nintendo era at this point.
Yeah,
it's weird.
Keep fighting.
It's weird after like the last, I'd say 5 or 6 years of all these companies kind of playing nice. It's really fallen apart the last months between Microsoft and Sony, whereas Nintendo is Nintendo. So they don't really throw their hat, which was weird because they also, I didn't put in here, but they also came out and said, we're not raising the price of our system, which why would they? It's 6 years old.
Yeah, they will.
I thought that was funny. Like they usually never comment on anything. They usually
stay out of it. They usually just don't
care. The fact that they commented is fucking crazy. So, but interesting. So now we'll transition to the rest of our emails. Unless you had any other, I don't think there was any other news. I think that's it.
I mean, that's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot.
We had a lot happen in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
A direct that was a surprise, a state of the play. So, but let's go ahead. Let's jump in. We got quite a bit of emails as well. They're all over the place. Got some good GameStop ones.
That's what we like.
Stuff to go. First one comes to us from Steve from Jacksonville, Florida. He says, "Hi guys, I was curious, what is your favorite E3 reveal of all time, and what do you think is the worst one? Thanks." I will say my favorite of all time is Halo 3. Because it was just fucking nuts. Like when they announced it, the little piano roll, and then like they literally showed kids crying. Like that's how big Halo was 15 years ago. It's not like that anymore.
Yeah.
Worst, I mean, I would say for me, it's a toss up between the price reveal for the PS3.
That was bad. That was mine too.
Okay.
That whole presentation was weird.
It was
when
weird
they finally
and not
dropped
great.
that slide, it was like $600, and you could feel the air get sucked out of that room.
Exactly.
Because that was $600 15 years ago.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like today, $600 is an insane price for a fucking console, but 15 years ago, like no way.
For a 60 gig console, and you could literally, you could almost hear it go silent.
Especially that came out a year after the 360, and that direct competition was half the price.
Yes.
So
super ridiculous. Weird.
My other choice for worse would be the Xbox One reveal, just because nobody fucking knew what they were talking about.
That was real bad.
Yeah, and it damaged that brand for years.
The people who were in charge, and especially Don Matrick, like had no clue how to explain what it was, and then the PR people fucking doubled down when it was over.
Yeah,
and you could disaster. That was a bad one.
It killed that generation, I think, for Microsoft up to a point. I'd say around the One X release,
it hurt a lot. Yeah.
And then Game Pass, those three things really turned the ship around.
Game Pass is when they finally were people were like, they're doing something correct. Yeah.
They do something good here, So but it was rough, like that, especially that fall, like holy shit.
Well, it was bad. My favorite ones. Yeah, my favorite ones. So my worst one was definitely the PS3 one, because I remember watching that live and just going $600.
Yeah.
Who was buying it?
I did too.
Especially when it was even worse when it actually came out and there were no games, like nothing.
No.
Yeah.
My favorite ones would be, there's more of a recent one, would be the Keanu Reeves thing. Like, you can say what you want about Cyberpunk, but apparently Cyberpunk is great now, and I'm glad, because I'm gonna play it eventually here soon. But the fact that he came out, like no one expected that, and then he goes, "Hey, you guys want to see a release date?" And it was like, "Wait, what?" And then it turns out he's in the fucking, like, because he's in the game. You're like, "This is insane." That was just a really good, good combination moment. And then one of my favorite, obviously, like one of the best ones ever too, was like when they first teased the Final Fantasy VII remake with that like high def trailer thing of it. And you're like, oh man, this gonna be it took forever for it to come out. But the fact that at the time they'd even thought about doing it, just to show that, was unbelievable. And then Fallout 4, just because they went through that whole, they're like, we're gonna do a giant presentation on Fallout 4, and you're like, all right, awesome. And they show like like the building and all that kind of stuff. You're like, man, this looks cool.
That's
and
a good one.
Then I'm like, hey, by the way, 11, it comes out in no time, and you're like, wait, what?
That was a smart decision.
Yeah, and but it came out immediately, and like Fallout games they're broken to a point, but that game was never bad.
No, I enjoyed it.
I like 4 a lot, so that was a good one, just because they literally like, it comes out in like 3-4 months, and it's gonna be out. That was the first time I learned about it. Yeah, it was cool.
How about you, Matt?
So I might get a lot of heat for this one, but I don't really watch E3.
Okay,
I
fair.
never really did.
Not everybody does.
I normally just like through
Read
like
about it
people I were
after.
talking to, they would be
Okay,
like, "Did you hear about that?" And then I would go back and read, or I'd watch whatever clip
sure.
they showed, just because I'm not one of those people that like to sit through shows like that.
Understood.
I
Yeah.
I just can't, because it's like a lot of talking. I get like anxious, and I'm like, just show the fucking game. Like, what are you
Yeah.
doing? Like, I don't want to. I don't need you to tell me how long you've been developing it. Just show me what the
Yeah,
fuck you're trying to do.
exactly.
Um,
No,
but I
I hear
will
you.
agree. I did read. I remember reading. I remember everybody having such heat about the Xbox One.
It's
Uh,
yeah.
Oof.
and I read about it, and I was just like,
Oh
well, this
man.
makes me definitely not want to go towards buying one of these.
Yeah.
And then Cyberpunk was probably one that I know a lot of people really liked because Keanu Reeves did come out.
Mhm.
But all in all, I mean, I read about whenever someone would gripe about it, or I'd watch about it, but I don't really have like any one that really sticks out for me like I really enjoyed.
The only other one I'll add real quick before we move on is because I thought of it and it's more of a me one, but the first Lords of Shadow, just because it came out of nowhere. It was not a known like, hey, we're making this, because that game originally started as just Lords of Shadow. It was not a Castlevania game. That's how they originally announced it, so people didn't know. And then when they put out that trailer, they want to say it was E3 2009. Blew my fucking mind. So I'm a diehard Castlevania.
You want to know
fan,
another good
so.
one that I remember now was because it was just
Sure.
one of those things where you're watching it going like, what is this? I don't know what is going on. Was Resident Evil 7. Because the whole time it's
that was
playing,
a good one
the
for
whole time
that.
it's playing, I was sitting there, my wife was with me too, and it was playing, and I'm like, I don't like, what is this game? Because it doesn't
Yeah,
look like
that was a
any
good
other
one.
Resident Evil game that's ever been made. Then as it goes through, you're like, man, this is strange. And then just like I remember when the title card came up.
It's a good title card.
And you're like, holy shit. That's a Resident Evil game. And then remember they put out this super weird demo, which was
The
not a
kitchen
part of the
demo.
game.
Right.
And that was just like the perfect way to roll out like Resident Evil's back, and we've completely changed everything.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that.
That was a great one. That was really good.
That's a good one too. Next one comes to us from Jake from Tucson. I think I said that right.
Buddy.
Tucson. Wow, I'm bad at that stuff.
Okay.
Arizona. Sorry, Jake. Hi guys, I've been listening since the beginning. I was curious what you all do for fun outside of gaming. Thanks. So we've had this email sitting in the box for about a week, so I've had more time probably to think about it than the two of you.
Yeah.
I'll let you say or not say what you want to say, but I'll go first. So I actually have a lot more hobbies than I think people know. I do talk about it a little bit on my YouTube channel. That is one of the things. I do have a YouTube channel, Marble Gallery. You're welcome to go check it out. That's also video game themed. But behind the scenes of either of these two things, I do a lot of stuff with guitar. I do a lot of guitar repair. I do a lot of I like fixing up beat up guitars. So that's like a hobby. That was a COVID hobby that I kind of picked back up. I've played guitar since like 98. But I put it down for a long time. Then COVID happened, and you just, you're trying to figure out what you want to do, for a hobby, because you can't go anywhere. And that kind of just, it came back to me. So that one, in terms of other stuff, like I was thinking of YouTube. That's what I was thinking of. Like, just the stuff I watch on YouTube. If it's not gaming, I actually really don't watch a lot of gaming stuff other than like trailers on YouTube. I watch a lot of like dead malls. I watch a lot of urban exploration. I watch a lot, obviously guitar stuff as well. But the thing I've been watching the most, and that's what I wanted because it interests me, I found a guy, and I'll even plug his channel. His name is Chris Harden. This dude is making videos where he just drives around towns. Like, he's done the state of Illinois, which is where I live. For the most part, I think he's from Michigan. He just does videos where he drives around a town, talks about like the history of it, talks about like, it's a good place or bad place to live in the current day.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, these videos are fucking great.
Okay.
Like,
hey.
they're super chill. I'll also preface, my girlfriend hates them. So there's that. She thinks they're incredibly boring, so I can't watch them when she's around, but they're fantastic. I've watched so many of those in the last like month. But yeah, if you were to sit down and like look at my my YouTube thing, like my interests are way far, what I watch way far outside of gaming. So, and then like other than that, like I do what everybody else does. I watch a lot of TV and movies and stuff. So, right now I'm on season 15 of SVU. So,
hell yeah.
I will turn it over to Dan.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of my hobbies tend to fall into, I guess you would say, like gaming / like nerd adjacent stuff. My other like, I obviously we've talked about it a lot, but like I collect video games, and it's not something I would like say I like actively do, and I'm always buying and I'm always selling and stuff. I like to buy stuff that like interests me. So what I actually like to do a lot, especially like with my wife, is I like to go to like flea markets or antique stores and stuff like that, and just look around at older stuff. I think a lot of that comes from like that was something my parents were really into. So I was always doing that as a kid, and just grow to appreciate like all the like older kind of stuff or things that are just neat or one of a kind, stuff like that. I'm also as far as like video games go, I'm also I wouldn't say I'm a Lego collector, but I buy a lot of Legos for myself, like the adult type sets. But then I've talked about it before. I have 2 younger kids, so that's something that we can do together. Like when they announced those Mario Legos, I got excited in the beginning because I was like, man, Nintendo's finally doing Lego. They're finally doing Lego.
Yeah.
And then it turned out to be, it's a play set kind of a thing. And it kind of bummed me out. But then I realized that could be something where like we could easily play that together because I can help build the sets.
Yeah.
And then they can play the Mario toys and stuff. So that's fun. So we do that. And then just kind of spending time with my kids and my family, like going out, doing stuff, finding new places to go to eat or like explore, all that kind of stuff. Most of my time, honestly, is work and kids. So gaming takes up the most of the rest of that.
You can add the 40 hours of work a week for me.
And then if I want to take a break, like if I just want to chill, I'll put on a podcast or music and build a Lego set. So like just as an example, like I haven't even, the worst part about Legos is I buy them and I don't build them. So I have like behind me alone, I have the Nintendo I haven't built. I have the Atari, the Atari one I have not built. I have the Nintendo 64, like the question block I have not built.
That's cool.
I just got the new DeLorean, haven't built it yet.
That's a good one too.
So yeah, I've got like I actually have like 12 or 13 sets that really need to get built, but they release them so fast now that it's hard to keep up. The best one I've bought and I built recently, and if you're a Lego fan and if you're a Spider-Man fan, the Daily Bugle set's awesome because it comes with like 25 minifigs. I'm a sucker for minifigs. So like if this set has a new Spider-Man character in it that's not in any other one, I have to buy it. They just released a smaller version, so they released the Aston Martin, like the James Bond car a couple years ago, like the bigger version of it, which is a cool build because it's got like ejector seat and stuff. They just released a small version of it, like a $25 version of it. I was like, I don't know if I necessarily need that one because I have the big one. But then that one comes with a James Bond minifig, and I said, well, now I have to buy it. So now I've got, but it's kind of funny because so now I have like the big and little version of that car. I have the big and little version of the Ecto 1. I have the big and little version of the DeLorean. And now I have to go buy the little version of the Charger from Fast and Furious. So I have the big and the little one of that. So that's Lego, something I can relax and just do by myself for the most part. Sure. But you know, it's fun getting my kids into it because they want Lego sets for Christmas and they play with them like I played with them as a kid, where they build it once and tear it down and build whatever they want. Yeah. Whereas now it's, we don't touch Dad's Lego. That's his. We don't remove any pieces ever. So yeah, that's what I spend most of my other time doing.
Okay. Fair enough. How about you, Matt?
Same. I have 4 kids, so a lot of my time gets taken up with them. My youngest is almost 3, so and I work from home, so he engulfs a majority of my day anyways. Outside of that, I love going to yard sales and estate sales and flea markets just because I also like finding old stuff. You know, things from my childhood, but I also like just appreciating some of the stuff that I remember seeing when I was a kid and just never got the opportunity to see. I also collect a lot of action figures. So out of box, in box, whatever's available. Over the past I'd probably say summer. I actually got into buying and selling Funko Pops. I know you
Ooh.
guys know that.
Yep.
But so that's a big thing that's kind of engulfed me when I do have the free time, is constantly being on Marketplace and buying big collections and then trying to sell them on my Whatnot page. So, quick cheap plug: if you got Whatnot and you feel like buying some Funko, catch me on Pan-84. Um, and that's really a lot of what I do. I'm a big movie buff too. I like
Yeah.
absolutely love collecting movies, and you know, I've recently got rid of a whole bunch of cases, and I took all of the movies out, and now they're in like this big old binder. So like my
Mm.
wife was like, if you want to keep buying movies, you have got to get rid of these or downgrade them. And I
Right.
was like, all right, fine. So I just started chucking cases out and putting them in things. But I also really am a big fan of foreign films. So like I have a lot of like kung fu movies or
Yeah.
like Asian movies that, like I just love reading subtitles. I think that's my thing.
I'm
It's
the
like
same. I'm the same. I
an
had a
easy way
lot of
to
that
read a
stuff.
book.
Yeah.
Like, that's how I feel about it. Like shit. I'll just read subtitles and it's like reading a book.
Yeah, I would
And
buy and watch like any kind of like Asian like action movie I could get my hands on, especially when I
so
was working
good.
at Game Crazy next to Hollywood and they'd get new
Mhm.
stuff in and I just rent it immediately.
Exactly. That's how I feel. I'm a big fan of Jackie Chan
Me too.
and
Yeah.
also Donnie Yen. He's a
Yeah,
fantastic,
he's great. Samo,
fantastic.
Samo's awesome
Oh,
too.
Samo is fantastic too. Like it's just a whole different world when you start like watching those and appreciating what they do.
Yep.
But that's really it. Like I don't other than that, like I work 40 hours a week and then my kids take up my time, my wife takes up my time. Um so yeah, kind of like same thing as Dan, like we go out, we try to do stuff with them interactively. My kids aren't into like Lego. My older son likes little Lego sets, but he gets easily angry when things don't fit correctly, and
Sure.
it's
Yeah.
not about reading instructions. So like if it don't fit, he's going to either
Yeah.
make it fit or he's going to throw the whole thing away. So it's kind of
Sure.
like we're not even going to touch that. Like I don't even want to mess with you in Lego because I'm going to end up having Lego pieces all over my floor and I'm going to step on one and we're going to have
Yeah,
problems.
that's
So,
nightmare. You don't want to do that.
but that's me in a nutshell.
The only other thing I'll add at the end, only because I remembered, is oddly enough, I drink a lot of coffee. I collect coffee mugs, and I have too many of them. But I keep buying them.
There you
Like
go.
even if it's on Amazon, if I'm out somewhere or something, like chances are, if they offer a coffee mug, I will probably buy it. So, anyways, that fun question. So,
Appreciate it.
next one we have is from Max from Waterloo, Wisconsin. He says, "Hi gents, was curious if you think next fall is when we will see the successor to the Switch. It's been 6 years." um, I mean, it's so impossible to tell because like Nintendo is still on this like train of like they're still selling the Switch. Like it's not like the sales of the Switch have ever stopped.
Right.
If anything, they've only increased because of the
Right.
pandemic. Like so I don't know how much of an incentive there is there other than, the hardcore audience. Because the casual audience that like a kid that wants to go out there and play Animal Crossing, they don't care about having a Super Switch that displays in, 1080p. And when you dock it, it displays 4K. Like I
Exactly.
want. So, I don't know. The answer is I don't know. Is it roughly around the time? Absolutely. I mean, it's been 6 years. They've never really waited this long as a company, kind of like, Nintendo, or not Nintendo, Sony and Microsoft kind of went from, 5-year periods to like 8 to 9. Nintendo's never really done that. So,
Yeah.
but I think the one thing that will hold it back again is just the continued success of the Switch, because there's just really not a reason.
Right, because really, what does it have to be? A slightly more powerful version of what it is. It's not whatever it is it's not a new system.
I don't think so either.
Exactly.
I don't think they can ever come back from this.
No.
Like, I don't think it can ever go back to, well, it's just
I don't think they should.
I don't think they should.
Either.
They should just keep making this better. because
Exactly.
they're the only, aside from obviously like mobile and where you can play, like you can stream PlayStation, Xbox to your phone now. They're the only handheld thing left in the console market. You know,
exactly.
they control that now, and they don't have to worry about making whatever the next 3DS would be. Like, because obviously 3D, they gave up on it by the end because they started making 2DS and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it just has to be slightly more powerful versions of what it is, better screens of what it is. Could it come out next year? Maybe, but I feel like that would be the kind of thing where why does it have to? It doesn't have to.
That's the thing, yeah. Until
There's nothing
they start
on that
really
system that's pushing it
reason
to break. It's
exactly.
No. I'd even probably say like when the new Zelda comes out, like it probably still isn't pushing all of the limits of that hardware.
right.
Like it might have janky parts for sure, but it's not going to be pushing that where it's like, I don't know if we can make another game like this.
Right. So then they'll have to just, as soon as, and it's a lot of it's going to be about getting chips and getting processors. Is when can we make these to sell them as fast as we know they're going to
and
sell.
I think that's the other reason why you're not going to see it for a little bit longer is because of the chip shortage. The fact that, you know, even in the United States, I mean, it's very impossible to get a PS5 still.
Right.
So Series X, different story. I see them all the time now. So, but so there's no real incentive there either to do that when the chip shortage is still very much a reality. So my question, I think our answer to that is I don't think it's going to be for a while. But as much as I would like to see it happen,
sure, yeah, I mean, I do too, but
I don't think any of us would disagree.
Don't need it yet.
Yeah, at the same time. This comes in from Brandon from Salt Lake City, Utah. He says, "Hey guys, I was curious with the recent announcement that Capcom has rescinded and is working on a PS4 version of Resident Evil 4 remake. So you think we will still get yet another year of games that are held back due to smaller install bases? So like looking at like the small install base of PS5 versus PS4.
Right.
I own a PS5 and I just want my games native to my console. No more shoddy ports.
I think we can all agree that I don't want PS4 versions of stuff anymore.
I don't either.
But I know why they're doing it.
Right. Here's the thing I'll say about Resident Evil 4 Remake. The re-engine that they spent like 5 years making is incredibly versatile versus a lot of other engines that are out there. They can do crazy shit with that engine. And we've already seen it. Not even in just Resident Evil with that Devil May Cry that came out a couple years ago, the most recent one. So for them to scale it back a little bit for a PS4, because I mean, I would have to imagine the development of this game probably did start on a PS4 before they shifted it.
Sure.
But I don't think it's going to be that big of a trade-off. I think your trade-off is going to be 1080-30 on a PS4 versus 4K 60 on. Exactly. Because again, how scalable that engine is.
I think when you'll finally see stuff go to it's PS5 only is when Unreal 5 stuff starts coming out. I think that's probably the break point.
That seems, there's no way.
There's no way. Like could it? Sure. But you're not going to want it. And again, I think low install base, Capcom realized, could we make this just for PS5? Sure. Could we make a PS4 version? Yeah, we can. Let's go ahead and do it and just get the money.
Here's the other thing that's interesting to note about this. They are only making a PS4 version. There is no Xbox One version of this.
Well, Xbox, I think Microsoft... Well, the thing is
that system was less powerful than.
But are there Xbox One games anymore? Not really. It's
not really.
It's just
but
an
like
Xbox
if you look at it, it clearly does not say Xbox One. It just says X and S. So,
well,
I don't think this game's coming there.
No, probably not. But you could also go buy one if you wanted to.
Yeah. Here's the other thing I'll say is like a Series S costs what the 1S did, or So if you really are hellbent on getting one and you just want Game Pass, then get the 1S.
Right.
If you don't have a backlog of physical games to play, then you're good there. So but I also think it's another year still. I think, and it makes because again you look at that install base, it's a money and a business decision. Like, do you really want to put a game out that's only on this smaller install base of a system, or do you want to make a lot more money?
Yeah.
So that's why God of War is on PS4 and PS5.
I tell you what, though, if they start going exclusively to PS5, that shit needs to be available.
I agree with
Like,
you there.
like,
And that could
don't
be the
switch
other
me to
reason too.
that, and then just have. I still can't find one unless I want to buy one for $1,000.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So our next question here comes from Tony from Guntersville, Alabama. He says, "Hi, gents. What do you all think of the bullshit news that GameStop is offering a measly 50-cent raise to employees? It shouldn't be a surprise coming from this shit company. Thanks." I will point out he did not identify if he is a current GameStop employee or not, so that's why I read where he's from.
Here's the thing about a 50-cent raise.
It costs them not much.
Here's the real talk about it. That's more than a lot of people have ever gotten in their time at being at GameStop.
I can agree to that.
Kyle can attest to it.
I can attest to that for sure.
If it's especially outside of forced raises, which they to like minimum wage, which they hid and told you, oh, you're getting a raise.
Yeah,
50 cents is honestly more than I thought they would ever give. A company hates giving raises. You can go on the Reddit and find multiple people who've never gotten one. You can find multiple people who've worked there for 5 years and GAs are making more than they are. Part of that, I'm not going to say it's your fault, but part of that is you not going to bat for yourself and being like, this isn't right. And you've either got to give me more than they do or I'm out. Part of the problem I have with the Reddit, I read the Reddit all the time, because obviously we're a GameStop, at the very least, adjacent podcast.
For sure, at this point, I would say so.
And so I try to keep up on what's going on. I talk to people that still work there. I read through the Reddit. But so many people on the Reddit I don't know why I still do this and they don't give me raises. Like, I don't know why you do it either, man. Like, get out.
Yeah.
I understand that you think it is difficult to get out because it feels like it is. It really does.
It really
and
is
obviously,
not, though.
Kyle made the choice to get out.
I did.
I was given
a choice to.
I was given a choice to stay.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
I was told I could stay. If I wanted to, they would fire someone else. But it finally felt like, you know what? This job at times gave me so much anxiety that it just wasn't worth it anymore. And it felt like a sign to say, leave. And it's been 5 years. And I make far more money now than I did there.
We both do.
I do less. I work less.
Also agree.
And I have more time to spend with my family, and I work Monday to Friday. There are ways out. Don't think you're stuck there. Before I left, I had an associate's degree and 15 years of video game retail thing. So, you feel like you don't have skills or whatever. You're worth more than GameStop values you. You're worth more than a 50-cent raise. We're talking about 50-cent raises to get people to $12 or $11.50. Come on, man. Like, there are things, especially in today's world where, quote unquote, I hate the phrase, nobody wants to work, which is a huge lie. Nobody wants to be undervalued. And you are worth more than you are worth. 50 cents is a joke. It is a slap in the face. It is very similar to the stock thing they got, where a friend of mine, she's eligible for it. And she kind of gave me a peek, and it's like, hey, in 3 years, this stock could be worth 20 grand. But what if the stock is worthless in 3 years?
Exactly.
What's it worth? So you suck it out for 3 years to get this, and what's to say they don't come in on month 35 out of 36 and say, "Ooh, man, your store's closed. You get your severance package, fine, but are you going to get that? Probably not. There's probably something written in where they can get around it. Who's to say the company is going to be what it is in 3 years?
Exactly.
50 cents is a joke. There are ASMs that barely make double digits. I knew store managers.
Yeah, for sure.
I knew store managers at the time that barely made more, that did not make as much as some ASMs. And the way that company works too is you work in this district, your minimum wage is $9, but the guy 2 towns over, same position, is making 13. They won't give you 13 because they don't have to, but they have to at the other place. Will that guy ever get a raise again? No. Will you? Maybe we'll give you 50 cents. It's
Probably
insane. They don't care. It's just another carrot at the end of the stick. Be like, see, we'll do it.
Right.
And then next year's raise is a pizza party. So enjoy.
Yeah.
It's a slap in the face. If you work there and you have the ability to get out, please get out. I implore you to get out. It is so much better not working there.
Oh yeah.
And I'll also say, like, I'll also preface with one of our final emails. If you still think you're valued, listen to our final.
We'll drop one major hammer on you at the end.
So, all right, our next email comes from John. This one is redacted because he's a current I think he was a current GameStop employee, but he might have left, but he did not give us where he's from. That's fine. And this goes to our roof story, which you love. So,
yes.
Hi guys, I wanted to just shoot over a quick email regarding the roof story you guys spoke of on the last podcast episode. I was a GameStop manager for over 10 years, and I had a battle of my own regarding not a roof leak, but a faulty AC unit that no one would fix. The landlord was awful about it and never took any credit for it, would constantly tell me it'll be fixed tomorrow and nothing would happen. I'd go back and forth with our DM, who was also useless in getting it fixed. The DM's solutions was to prop open the doors on hot days and make sure that everyone has cold drinks, which does not work when it's over 100 degrees outside.
No, just get a cool drink.
Yeah, BS.
Pay for it out of your own pocket and put it in the small mini fridge we give you in the back.
This was a years-long battle until, much like your story, the solution by corporate was to withhold rent. We were on an annual lease, and to no one's surprise, it wasn't renewed. I'm so glad I found a podcast that talks about this shit, as it felt good to get that off my chest. Thanks.
You're welcome, John, because that's the exact same thing.
It's literally the same story,
and
only a different thing.
The same thing that is happening to tons of people. There's multiple managers who have dealt with this stuff and are just screwed. And that's you see exactly how much they care about you. Make sure you have prop the doors open. You mean the one door at the front of the store?
Yeah, there's not multiple
and it's 100
doors.
outside.
Maybe.
Am I getting a cool 100-degree breeze inside? What does that mean?
You want a bunch of bugs coming in?
Have a cool drink.
You know, in our case, birds.
Pay for your own cool drinks.
Yeah, it was just shit. So we feel your pain.
Years-long battle of that. That is insane.
All right.
At least ours was a leak and it was 100 degrees in the store.
All right. And we're ending this podcast on a couple GameStop ones. So next one comes from another redacted. His name is Carrie. He says, "Hi guys, GameStop employee here." So this is a current GameStop employee. He says, "I'm curious, when the Activision Blizzard deal finally goes through, do you think it's going to be damaging enough for people will legitimately think that COD is only on Xbox now? I can tell you, as a current employee, I already get customers that tell me this. I've had 2 PS5 trade-ins for Series X systems at our store. Even though I explained to them, both customers didn't care and just wanted to future-proof. It really seems like this deal could be to Sony what the Xbox One reveal was for Microsoft at the start of last gen. Thanks." I mean, I'm not in a store setting anymore. Dan isn't either. But if that's the word on the street, and there are stores that, it could. I believe it.
I fully believe it.
Potentially be damaging.
People refuse to do any sort of research. The Xbox One was particularly damaging because
extremely
no one understood. We would have to have daily conversations with people about no, it's not always online. No, it's not this. No, it's not that. Well, I heard that they're doing this and blah, blah, blah. And then, my cousin works at Sony. He knows. No, he doesn't know because he doesn't work there. It's something you read on a forum somewhere online and you refuse to read what's actually happening. This is going to happen. Like, obviously, it already happened to him twice, and he's one store.
Exactly.
It's just, it's not even misinformation. It's not doing your research.
Yeah.
Every time we'd have to have a conversation with somebody like PS4 or Xbox, please do your own research. You should not rely on what I tell you. I could, depending on who you talk to at a store, it's a different answer.
Yeah.
You're not making a decision for yourself. Is this going to hurt? It'll hurt a little bit, but in the end, it doesn't matter. I mean,
I don't think it'll be as. I think it will have some damage effect to it, but I don't think it'll be Xbox One reveal level.
No,
that
it'll
was just...
nothing could ever be that bad again.
You want a true one in a lifetime thing? There you go.
The COD stuff, like, people are gonna believe it. They're gonna be like, "Oh man, Microsoft bought COD. I guess I got to buy an Xbox," and they won't even realize that.
And that's exactly how they'll say it too.
Yeah.
It won't be Activision because they're not going to know.
No,
that.
they don't care about
They're
that.
going to go, "Oh,
They don't
Microsoft
care.
owns Call of Duty."
Yeah. Well, I guess I got to buy that. And then even if it says like, obviously if it goes through, all of the ads you'll see for it will flash a Microsoft logo at the end or an Xbox.
What's
logo
this Game Pass thing?
Yeah, or Game Pass. Without even checking that it'll be on PlayStation. So
for sure.
Yeah, it's gonna be dumb. You're gonna see a lot more of it, especially when it finally is like you'll see it. There'll be a big article that says Microsoft now owns Call of Duty. The deal is done, and then that'll kick off a few more people. But
for sure,
ignorance.
So our final email, and I'm going to preface this one. Like I said before, if you still think you're valued at GameStop,
you know what? Can I read this one? Can I read this one?
You know what? Absolutely.
Because
I will let you read this one.
Because I'm going to have a lot to say about this one.
Yeah, I will say, like, Dan has a lot more to say about this one than I do because I was not in the store at the day that this situation happened.
This is the email. Yeah. So this is Grant. He emailed in. We've redacted his location as well, just in case.
For sure.
Even though he no longer works with the company, but I think he redacted it himself, actually. So
he did. He did not say.
Okay, so Grant says, "Hi all. I have to say I love that I found a podcast that talks about GameStop negatively, but doesn't shit on all of us employees in the trenches. I have to say I enjoyed last episode hearing about the struggle with the roof situation. I can relate to corporate being a bunch of stuck-up delinquents. As a former manager, I worked in a large metro area in the southern states. And the reason I'm emailing this is to see if anyone has ever experienced something this crazy. We had a store manager in my district who went in to open one morning, and before he opened, he had a massive stroke and died. It wasn't until about 90 minutes after opening that a customer peered through the gates and saw what was going on and called 911. However, it was far too late. Here's where it gets super fucked up. And it's one of the reasons I sought other employment and left. The district manager in corporate had to try and get someone to go in and work at that store that day. You would think that because someone just died in a store, it would be shut for the day at least, but not at all. This manager's body wasn't even cold yet, and all the DM cared about was finding someone to come in and cover. I just found it all incredibly uncomfortable and humiliating. Nothing has ever made me feel more like a number than a person. This was back several years ago, and I'm years removed from GameStop. I'm glad you all got out. Life is truly better on the other side of the counter. Thanks for taking my probably morbid email." Grant, I will tell you, specifically, this exact thing happened to me.
That's so crazy.
I'm not even joking. Like when I first read his email, I swore he was a DM from my district because of how close this is. Yeah. It is insane. Yeah. So my story is one day, we had the same kind of thing happen where
it was an opening.
It was not really technically an opening. It was a manager stayed late overnight because he had been told he had to reset his collectible section because this was at the time where this was a fairly new thing and they were adamant it had to be set up by this plan.
Yeah.
And if you weren't doing it, you were in trouble. So leadership, I'm not going to say specifically who it was because they don't know 100%. And I'm not going to like drag people, but leadership told him he had to stay and he had to fix this overnight. Well, this person had a prior heart condition as it was and was told to take it easy, but obviously he's stressing out. He isn't, because like I said before, the job gives you anxiety at certain points.
It does, for sure.
Had a heart attack essentially and died in the store. Yeah. And the only reason people knew was because the alarm company called. So how the alarm company works is there's basically like an order they call. Typically it's like store manager and down first, but it's actually more about like who's closest first because that makes more sense.
Yeah,
right. Sure.
So they eventually got a hold of someone and said, "Hey, the alarm wasn't set. Is at like 1:00 because they would do that to let you know in case you forgot." So the person said, "I'll go check on it." Pulled up and saw him through the door, and just saw he was dead. Part of me wants to say that when he did, he hit his head. I want to say I remember there being talk of there being like blood in the store. I may be
I want to
wrong.
say he like hit his head when he fell.
That's what
or
I'm
something.
remembering.
Yeah.
But again, this was so long ago. I could be confusing with
Yeah.
something else. Don't take all of this as fact, but the general story is true.
Right.
And it became a thing of, well, who's gonna work? And the store is in my district, but it was far. It was over an hour away, so it wasn't really on me or the stores closest to find someone because it wouldn't be reasonable. I do think that the store was closed that day. Thinking back on it now, it's also possible.
Okay.
It's also possible it opened
late
at 3 or 4 or something.
yeah.
You know what I mean? But I can guarantee you it was open the next day, and I can guarantee it was because the regional manager demanded it.
Absolutely.
Not having necessarily the district manager. Like, obviously, there's precedence for this because it's happened at least twice that we know of. But to think that corporate would even allow a store to be closed for a day for a death seems like human decency, but you are a cog in the machine, and as they're rolling your body out the door, someone's walking into it to do exactly what you
were doing.
That's so disgusting.
What you died doing. This man died rearranging toys in a GameStop.
Yeah,
and no one cared. Like, I don't say no one cared, but we all cared because that's
the
awful.
Corporate level.
Corporate didn't care, and this guy was younger than me when it happened.
That's the fucked up part too.
You are worthless to these people.
Yeah.
They expect you to come into a store. You work at a different store, or you're the assistant or whatever. They expect you to come in and just punch in, start selling people their video games, sell kids Pokemon cards while there's a pool of blood on the floor that probably isn't cleaned up yet, or it's got something put over the top of it.
That's more likely.
Or if they had carpet tiles, they cut out the carpet tile and threw it away and put on a fresh one.
I can see that.
Jesus,
it's disgusting. And like that is also a moment where another thing about managers that it's common sense, and I think most of you would agree. Like, when we're not busy during the day, we're on the phone with each other.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, you call, let's see what this person's up to. And you talk to them for 30 minutes, and then I gotta go. Somebody's walking up. You hang up, and then you call somebody else. Hey, what are you doing? Oh, somebody's in the store. I'll call you back. Okay. So I'd have 3 or 4 people you talk to, and it's just, I remember that day just calling them, just being like, what are we doing? Like, this is insane. And that's part of it, where that just goes onto the pile of stuff that, like, you realize.
Yeah.
Does I mean, there's other parts to it too. Like, does your business have an obligation to you if you die on the job? I mean, yes and no, because this was something that you didn't know was going to happen. He wasn't shot during a robbery. He wasn't, it was a shitty thing that happened, but it happened because you pushed him to do it. Exactly. Because if he didn't do it, the threat is disciplinary action or termination.
For sure.
Yeah, it's bone chilling stuff. I remember just feeling disgusted.
Yeah.
And like to not even give people who worked with this person time to like grieve properly.
No.
Like, this person died in the store you're expected to now work at, and now you got to make up his 40 hours.
I mean, can you imagine being one of the other key holders at the store, getting that call of like, hey, so this happened today. Oh, by the way, we need to fill all these shifts.
Yeah, imagine being the guy who found him and having to deal with that, finding someone dead in the store.
Exactly.
In the middle of the night. And then, talking to the DM, and then having to figure out, like, what are we going to do? How are we going to bar people? And then having to make the call and be like, hey, Kyle, just so you know, like, Dan died in the store.
Exactly.
Imagine getting that phone call from our assistant at the time. Yeah. Can you could you even process that?
I don't know how I would say it.
Yeah,
exactly. I wouldn't.
So it's
easy. I would be like, that store is haunted, and I quit.
Well, it's I mean, we were talking before this, but a come to find out from sources that 2 other people that have worked in that store recently have both died.
Mm-hmm.
So
Really?
yes,
Okay.
from other causes.
I was gonna ask, like, is that store still open?
It's still open. I verified it a couple of days ago.
Okay.
But like that store is, I don't believe in curses or ghosts or any of that shit. But that store's straight cursed, homie. Like that's a no. You want to cover here? Am I alone? Hell no. Pass.
No. Good.
Yeah. So, like we said before, we said it during this, and we said it during the race question. They do not care. No one cares. They will not pay for your funeral. They will not pay for the ambulance that had to come take you away. They will not pay for anything. They'll go to the tape. They'll check the tape. They say, "Well, he died at 10:15. That's when I'm gonna have to edit his time card to."
That's even if the camera's covering the area.
Well, of course, but that's when I'm going to edit his time card to, and then I guess we'll shred his check because nobody gets it, and then somebody at corporate will laugh as they delete him out of the system.
Yeah,
like that's literally how it is. So do not kill yourself working there. I will be honest and say there was one day specifically I was working. I had a legitimate panic attack. And I had to lock the door. And I sat down on the floor behind the counter. And I probably cried. I don't even remember what caused it or what snapped, but something at that place made me snap. I remember calling my wife and just being like, I can't do this anymore. I'm losing my mind. Like, I cannot handle this. She talked me down and I got over it. But what if I'd had a panic attack and then died in that story?
Exactly.
Then what happens? Like, it's just, we love you people. Like, that's the thing. We love you as people. We want better for you as people. GameStop is a company that is going nowhere, and it's led by a complete moron at this point.
Yeah.
The guy who dodged the last earnings call because it came in lower than expected just decided he didn't want to be on that call. Who's in charge? Please leave.
Exactly.
Big old man, baby.
Yeah, he is.
So, but that's going to wrap up our emails. This is actually a longer podcast. As always, though, send us your emails, podcast572@gmail.com. Your game recommendations. I know we didn't get one this week, but we talked about the one from last week since Matt was here. But send us as well. You know what? It's spooky season. I'm going to challenge 2 things for emails today before we close. Number 1, recommend me a spooky game, and let's see if it's one I haven't played. That's number 1. Number 2, because I love anything spooky. I don't care. Number 2, I watch a lot of Dead Mall videos, and I've actually been wondering this recently. Do you work at a GameStop that's in a Dead Mall? How is that going? Like, how does that work? I want to know, because I see Dead Mall videos all the time. I see this shit, like, every video I watch, I look at it, and for me, I'm like, how is that store still open? I want to know. What's an average day like at a Dead Mall?
Is it just you in the weird local place in the food court?
Yeah, exactly. So, but other than that, that's going to wrap us up for this week. So as always,
quick,
go ahead.
Before we end, I will say today I got a hell of a steal of Walmart clearance games.
Yeah.
So I encourage you, if you are wanting to look for games, check out your local Walmarts. They're clearancing a lot of stuff, and I got Resident Evil 3 for $10. Oddworld, the Day 1 edition for $10. I've never played an Oddworld game, but I'm kind of stoked to get into it. At $10, it's not a horrible price.
Yeah,
so,
the magical traveling Walmart has found its way to you, and at one point it will close up shop and fold the tent and disappear. But I think you said you talked to the guy at the counter, right? And he said he was planning on doing more.
Well, he said he just started working at Walmart, so this was his first time being a department manager, and his goal was to get rid of all of the old stuff that they had in the back, and if that meant clearancing it to 3 cents, which is
the first time
I've heard somebody say that. Like, I know I've watched videos where people are like, this game running up is 3 cents, but Walmart always gave grief, and they're like, we're not going to give it to you for. This guy was like, I'm going to sell it to you for 3 cents. And if they have anything to say about it, they can say whatever they want about it. But I'm going to sell it to you.
Yeah, then don't price it at 3 cents.
Don't price it at 3 cents.
Yeah.
So he was down for doing that, and I was like, all right, cool. But
maybe get a copy of Babylon's Fall for 3 cents.
Hey, I'll look for it.
There you go.
There you go.
Other than that, though, that's going to wrap us up for this edition. We will see you all in 2 weeks for the next edition of Podcast 572. As always, thank you for listening.
Thank you, everyone.
Stay safe.